Alright, so hello everyone. Welcome to the 5 Minutes of Freddy's review podcast. This might be the first and only review podcast I ever do, or it can be one of many. Today I have with me my friend Sam, who I saw the movie with, and we're going to be talking everything about the movie. Up front, I'm just going to say we're going to do non-spoilers, but that bit's going to be very short compared to the spoiler section. We will be spoiling the fuck out of this movie. So if you haven't seen it and you want to know literally nothing, don't watch this. Come back later. But if you're like curious, you want to know what we think before you go and see it, stick around, get comfy, get a snack or something. You might be here a while. We've just started this, but before we started recording, I literally was like, we'll try to keep this under 2 hours, but it might go over. So it's gonna end up being like a 5 hour long video, which is the longest.
It's gonna be
thing.
4 hours long.
4 hours of Freddy's. 5 hours of Freddy's, even it could be.
5 hours at Freddy's. There you go. That's the next game title.
5 hours at Freddy's, or fun story. When I told my dad I was going to go see the movie 5 Minutes at Freddy's, he thought it was called 5 Minutes at Freddy's. And I went, "No, Dad, that would be a very short movie."
I mean, that's what any reasonable person would be.
Mm-hmm. He went, "Oh, 5 minutes at Freddy's," and I was like, "No, 5 nights at Freddy's." And I was trying to explain the concept to him, and I said like Chuck E. Cheese, and and then he went back, "If it's Chuck E. Chong's." It's a real quote from my father. If I can put that on his tombstone.
Get a quote book out.
Oh, maybe I should start a quote book for my dad. Maybe I shouldn't though, because a lot of what my dad says isn't politically correct, and I don't think I'd be allowed to have that on my phone. But
Nah.
you know what? Might start one and not tell him, and then one day just randomly pop out with it. But by the way, Dad, I've got a quote book for you.
I mean, you're friends with me, so you've already broken that first bit.
True. But yeah, so let's get into it. Let's talk about it. First of all, I think it's important that we start with both of our personal experiences with FNAF. So, I've been a fan of FNAF since 2014. I think the first FNAF thing I ever saw was the Living Tombstone song. That's in my earliest memory. And back then I remember thinking, this is stupid. But once I started watching videos and kind of got into it, I could appreciate it for what it was. Now I'm still a fan, obviously, which is why I'm making this review podcast and why I've seen the movie. But I'm nowhere near as into the series as I was like back when I was 11, which really is like most fans. Let's be honest, most FNAF fans are children. But that's my history with it. I played the games as they were coming out. I did fall off the CDs after Sister Location. For the longest time, I thought Sister Location was the last game. Not unlike, oh, this is a great place to end it. I just generally thought there wasn't any more after that. So I didn't know about the existence of like FNAF 6 when that came out, or like Ultimate Custom Night. It wasn't till Help Wanted was announced, I think believe it was shown off in a PlayStation State of Play. That's when I realised, oh fuck no, FNAF's still going, they're still making it. And that was when I got back into it, was in 2019. But no, I've been a fan ever since, played Help Wanted, loved it. I played Security Breach. Don't like that one. Played Ruin as well. I didn't even finish Ruin, to be completely honest. I don't like it at all.
You've still not finished it.
No, I don't like it. But it's not what we're talking about today. Because I feel like if we go on the Security Breach and Ruin sidetrack, this is going to be 5 hours of Freddy's. And I don't want to do that. I want to keep it mostly on the movie, because it's really what we're here to discuss today. But no, I am a huge fan of FNAF. I read the books as well when they were coming out. I think I did. I remember reading Silver Eyes, definitely. And I'm pretty sure I read the other two. I think it's the Fourth Closet and the Twisted Ones. I might have got that the wrong way around. I think the Twisted Ones is the second one, I believe.
I think you got that right.
Okay, well, whatever the order is, I know the Silver Eyes is the first one. I've definitely read that. And for some reason, I do have a memory of reading the other two, but I'm not confident if I did or not, because I don't own a lot of books I used to have when I was younger, because my dad threw them away. What a wasteful man. Some of those were first print editions. I think they go for a lot now. Probably not.
Oh,
but like first prints of books can go for a decent amount. So it's the potential gold mine just gone. The same with
you have to go digging for your bins.
Oh, it was like 5 years ago at this point. I doubt they're still in there. It was like
go digging through the skip then.
Oh no, they're lost in the sands of time. Unless they're hidden in like some secret like storage room in a skip waiting to be unveiled like 30 years later.
Either that, or did your dad actually throw them out, or did he keep them for himself because he knew they would be popular?
No, with him, he definitely threw them out because I remember it was like not just my FNAF books, but it was like a lot of treasured childhood things. Like all my Dive Won't Be Good books and Hard Henry books are gone because of him. I used to have this one's for my Sonic fans. I used to have these Sonic figures. They're made by this company called Jazzwares, and they're really high quality figures. They don't make Sonic figures anymore. They've lost a license to someone else who doesn't make as good figures. And now those figures I had, which I bought for like maybe 15 quid back in the day, I've seen them go for like 50. So again, potential gold mine gone. Yeah.
Damn.
But no, that's my personal kind of history with FNAF. What about you, Sam? Like, what's your experience? I think you're about the same as me. Let's be honest.
Mine's is a bit more consistent. Again, started playing it in 2014 in like the week it got popular. Saw a bunch of YouTubers playing it. Thought my impressionable like 12-year-old brain went, "Ooga booga, cool game, let's buy it." I played it initially just because it was popular. I was like, alright, this is a bit weird, but sure. Then I started learning the story, and well, I've played every single bloody game since. FNAF 2 is still my favorite, obviously. It's the only correct answer. And unlike you, I never took a break from it. I got slightly less interested in it, but I eventually I came back and I still stayed in touch with it. All the way through Security Breach. Unlike you, I actually beat the entire thing. It was a pain in the ass, but I did it.
I beat Security Breach at the very least. I just didn't beat Ruin because I don't like. It was more of the same, and I was like, I don't like this. I'm not.
Yeah. I just like powered through it. But yeah, I've not read any of the books. Full disclosure, I'm gonna be useless on that front. I don't like reading. That shit's for nerds. But if it's the games you want, then bro, I'm your man. I've beaten all of them. I have the full collection. Not really much else to say, to be honest. I've sort of just been a generic fan.
And to be honest, I honestly think in a way FNAF kind of saved our friendship because back in 2021, pre-Security Breach, we were friends before that, but we'd kind of fallen out of touch. And then it was like, I think it was either you or me were like, yeah, I'm kind of excited for the new FNAF game. And we were like, no way! Like, you're a FNAF fan as well. And it just like reignited everything. And we've obviously stayed good friends, I'd like to imagine.
We as we found out, we jumped up and did like the freeze frame high five.
Yeah. We did the that was in the air.
Yeah!
Power of Love started playing like don't need money like that. It was brilliant. It was
fantastic.
I think we just got a lot of weird looks from people in the classroom being like, fucking FNAF.
What the fuck is that shit?
God, I remember this was last year. My girlfriend at the time, she kind of brought up that she had watched like FNAF gameplay videos when that was coming out, and I told her I was still a fan of it, and she went, like she actually sighed like that. It was unbelievable. I'm not with that woman anymore. It's not to do with that. It is in a way, but like
you broke up with her because of FNAF.
No, it was due to different reasons, and that's a whole thing. I'm not going to get personal on the podcast. It's about FNAF.
What do you mean you don't like Freddy, you bitch?
But no, I think like kind of FNAF has always been there for me, even when I kind of wasn't into the series. Like, Hal wanted to, like, I'm going to actually get personal now. Hal wanted to actually help me through like a kind of difficult time because, kind of a morbid fact, Help Wanted came out on the same day my granddad died. But I think having that kind of distraction helped a lot because I kind of was just like watching videos of it online and just had something to enjoy in that dark period. So I'll always will respect FNAF for that, and that's I think kind of why Hell Wanted is my favorite FNAF game is because of just the memories attached to it. But
that makes sense.
We can talk memories of FNAF all day. Let's get into really what we're here to talk about, the movie. I say let's move away from memories. Let's actually look back on the film's development because this film has been in the works since 2015, like 8 years. Like there are kids who were born before this movie. Like there were kids who were born right when this movie started development, who are now old enough to probably be FNAF fans, and that terrifies me. Because I'm not that old. I'm 19. You know, I'm talking like I'm an old man who's lived many years. I'm only 19. But I remember the day that the film's announcement came out. It was originally under Warner Brothers, who, if you don't know, are not the people behind the film now. The current film that's out. is not Warner Brothers.
Good.
It was, I believe, April of 2015 it was announced. And also, here's a fun fact for you. First news article I ever read was about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie announcement.
Really?
So I was like, I need to know more. Can you imagine, I was like 10 away to be 11 when this film was announced. So I hadn't watched the news in my life. But I remember seeing a video about they're making a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. It's going to be Warner Brothers. And I was like, I need to read this article. I was like, I want to see like the juicy stuff. So yeah, that was the first article of any kind I ever read was for the FNAF movie. And the guy who was originally going to direct it, I don't remember his name, but the only film I know he's done aside from what he was going to do with this movie, was the 2014 Poltergeist remake. And from what I hear, it wasn't very good, that movie. So we might have dodged a bullet there with that guy. So yeah,
I mean, Warner Bros. In general, we dodged a bullet.
God, especially considering what happened with them now and how they treat other properties, we dodged a massive bullet. But yeah, the film I think was in active development from 2015 to 2017, and then for some reason Scott was like, "Okay, we're starting over. I don't like the direction this film's going. It's not working. We're just going to start again from square one." And I believe it was around about this time as well, or it might have been 2018. That the film switched production houses from Warner Brothers to the current production house of the movie, Blumhouse. Now, Blumhouse pretty much just specialised in making horror movies. So, like, the current Halloween movies, the ones that kind of came out over the last few years, I'll admit, I like the first one. The other two, I think, are universally hated. They made them. That's kind of their big claim to fame currently. I believe they're working on a Nightmare on Elm Street remake as well. I could be wrong in that. That might have just been a rumour. But they specialise in horror stuff. Mr. Jason Blum himself, who is the producer in this movie, that is his playing area. So I think, in terms of choosing a production studio for this, probably the best decision they made. Like,
yeah.
And we'll talk about that later. So yeah, 2017 or 2018, I don't exactly remember. Blumhouse picked up the film, it moved away from Warner Brothers, and it seemed like we were finally getting somewhere. Then the film went silent for 2 years. We heard absolutely nothing about it. Whenever asked about the film, Jason Blum was just like, yeah, we're still working on it. It's coming out soon, keep an eye out. I think at one point they were eyeing up a 2020 release date, like Halloween of 2020. Obviously that didn't happen because it's been 3 years later and the film's just come out. But at one point I believe they were eyeing up a Halloween 2020 release. Which, let's be honest, even if the film was finished in time, it wasn't going to come out then because of the fucking pandemic. Which I think is also a reason why this film took so long. But in November of 2020, we finally got news that they'd landed on a script that Scott liked. And he was like, yeah, we're doing this one. We start filming in the spring of 2021. Then we heard nothing. No anything. The guy who was the director, there was a new director attached to this version, Chris Columbus, who, if you don't know who he is, I believe he was the director of the Harry Potter movies. He directed the first two of them. So I don't know why he was directing a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. That always seemed weird to me. I'm gonna double check that fact, but there's no correlation there between Harry Potter and Five Nights at Freddy's. To be completely honest,
that's was it actually?
He was
actually the final director.
He was no. Emma Tammy is the final director. I'm afraid to God I said her name right, but he was attached to the movie. And he was originally supposed to direct it when Scott announced we're starting filming in 2021.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't completely understand why he was chosen at all. He's never worked in the horror genre, I believe, before he was attached to this movie. Always seemed like a weird choice to me. He's not the final director because, like I said, filming was supposed to start in 2021. We heard nothing. Spring came and went. No news on the movie. Then I believe it was a summer that they said they were reviewing the script because Scott changed his mind at the last minute. Was like, I don't like that.
Again.
And then we heard nothing. Nothing again until November of last year, where it was announced there was a new director. I believe that was when the cast was announced, including Matthew Lillard, who, if you don't know, he was in horror movies like Scream. He played Shaggy from Scooby-Doo in both the live-action movies, and he's the current voice actor of Shaggy, as well as Josh Hutcherson, who is in stuff like Hunger Games, and that's all I know him for, to be completely honest. But we had the announcement. It was filming in February of 2023. And that was it. And then it actually did start filming. It wasn't like another case of they said they were going to film and then nothing happened. They actually filmed it. And here we are now in October of 2023. 8.5 years after the original announcement of the movie. It's finally out. Holy shit. It took 8.5 years. Oh my, just hit my mic. Took 8.5 years, but we finally got it. And we're going to start with non-spoilers. First of all, Sam, I want to ask you, because you don't watch a lot of movies, do you? Like, when we went to see this movie, this was the first time you'd been to the theatre in like 10 years. What did you think of it?
I thought it has its issues. For a FNAF movie, it does its job well. As a movie and like an actual story being told, I think it's got a lot of like rough edges. I think it could have done better. Mm-hmm. But for being a FNAF movie, it did pretty good, I would say.
Honestly, I would say the same. I think that, without getting into spoilers, the main problem with this movie, which I think is really funny because this was the reason it took so long to come out, was the script for me. I don't think this film was really that well written. There are a lot of issues, I think, with the story. And not even just like small things, there are big things in this story that I am like, why? But I think aside from that, it's incredibly well directed. I think Emma Tammy did a fantastic job with directing this movie. It perfectly captures like the aesthetic of Five Nights at Freddy's 1. I think it was a great translation from the game screen to the big screen, if you will. And I think it was very well acted, and I think it was overall, I enjoyed it. I don't think I could recommend it to someone who's not a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, though. It's very much a film for fans, and Jason Blum, he did say that before the film came out. I believe he was on the Seth Meyers talk show, which is a talk show in America, obviously. And he said, like, when they were making this movie, they were like, we're not trying to get in new fans, we're trying to just appeal to current fans of the series. And when that quote came out, I was like, yeah, critics saw this and hated it, didn't they? And they did. The film is currently sitting at a 25% on Rotten Tomatoes for the critic score. Audience score is a lot better. It's at 88%. And to be completely honest, though, I don't understand why critics have hated it as much as they have. I get that they probably didn't like it because it is very much for fans of FNAF. But I do not understand at all like how like the score's that low. It really isn't that bad of a movie. But I think a lot of critics just have a hatred towards video game movies in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why, from a non-FNAF fan's perspective, that again you wouldn't like it as a movie. However, I don't think it deserves 20%. I remember it being like, was it 35 or something a week ago?
It came out in the 30s. That was like with the first kind of wave of reviews. The critics who had seen it early, it was sitting at, I think it was 35. It was somewhere in the 30s. But since more critics have seen it, it has dropped a lot more to 25%.
I feel like 35 was probably the fair one to go for. I don't see how it's gotten to 25 though. Again, I know I'm like not happy with it as a movie, but at the same time, I don't think it deserves that low of a score.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, even if you're not a FNAF fan, and this is like the angle I'm trying to understand the critics from, is if I'm looking at this film objectively, I don't think it's that bad. It's not a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I think the most I could give it if I'm not a FNAF fan is a 5. As a FNAF fan, I'll get into what I would personally give it, numbers wise later on. But I don't understand how it's just got this absolute bollocking from critics. It's really not that bad of a movie. I feel like a lot of them have just kind of jumped on the hate train and are just like, let's just fucking tear this movie apart. That's how I feel anyway. It doesn't matter though what the critics think, because audiences have very much loved the movie. In America, it grossed, I think, nearly 50 million in its first day. It's tracking to gross 130 million worldwide in its opening weekend. And keep in mind, in America as well, it's also come out on streaming day and date with the theatrical release. So there's probably a lot of people who are staying home to watch it. But 130 million for a horror movie, and especially of a movie that's $20 million in budget, that is insanely good. And I have no doubt in my mind they're going to look at that and go, okay, yeah, at least audiences liked it. We're going to make a sequel.
I really hope for a sequel.
Yeah, because I think a sequel would be great to address the problems with the movie. Because to me, like I've said, most of my problems with this movie are just the script. I don't think that, like, please, I'm going to say this, please don't take 8 years to make the sequel. Like, acknowledge the criticism, don't take 8 years. Like, get Scott out of the writing room if that's what it takes. I'm not being funny, but like the whole reason this film took 8.5 years to come out was because Scott kept looking at scripts and going, I don't like that now. Which, to be fair, he actually did talk about some of the like cancelled scripts that he got, and some of them I'm like, thank God he said no. There was one where it was like, plushies take Manhattan, which was instead of being animatronics, they were plushies, and they took Manhattan. That was
how would that even get? How? What?
Yeah, exactly. There was another
I
one.
don't see how.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't get why anyone thought it was a good idea for FNAF. There was another one where they tried to adapt the books, the Silver Eyes. They tried to adapt, well, at least the first book anyway. They tried to adapt that as a film, which I personally, from what I remember from Silver Eyes, I think I could have worked. But I'm kind of glad they went in a different direction. I'm glad this is a new story that we're getting to tell here with this film. There was another one, which was a Freddy Fazbear ends up in a pawn shop, and the animatronics from the rest of the animatronics from the location come to get him, and then this kid who's like working at the pawn shop gets roped into this adventure, which I don't see how that's a horror movie at all. I don't understand that, to be completely honest.
Do you want to come for an adventure?
What that has to do with FNAF at all, outside of Freddy Fazbear happens to be there. There was going to be at one point a very accurate to the lore script that focused on Cassidy, but the problem was it felt more like just a visual encyclopedia of the film rather than an actual movie. It's more just like, okay, this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens. It's FNAF.
Yeah.
Which, no, I don't think that was going to work.
I mean, I probably wouldn't have minded that, not for the sake of, I would agree it probably wouldn't be great, but at the same time, it would explain a lot of the earlier games lore, because as it currently stands for game lore-wise, we're taking a lot of the newer games stuff and disregarding a lot of the older games stuff, because Five Nights at Freddy's was meant to be Scott's final game, and he changed his mind on the story when FNAF 2 came out, and then it changed again when FNAF 3 came out and people didn't like it. Like, it's changed a lot in since those old games.
To be honest, I think
so.
Most of the issues with the FNAF story is that Scott is just making up as he's going on. I don't believe for a second he's planned anything. Like, even after it got insanely popular, like, beyond the point of 4, he didn't plan any of this out. He's making this up as he's going and trying to convince us that he's planned it. He definitely hasn't, and it's worked for the most part. But even like thinking to the lore of the game, stuff like the box, like originally that had a answer to it, and Scott was going to reveal it, but then he was like, actually no, I changed my mind. I'm not answering that. It's just going to remain unanswered. Like, no, why would you set it up and then not answer it? So I mean, every time he just remotely tries to plan something, he's just thrown it out the window. He's like, I'm not doing that. Fuck that. But
I think that's the issue with FNAF as a whole. It's just Scott keeps changing his fucking mind.
And that is the problem with why this film took so long. There was another script, like a potential script for this movie, that had it be teenagers break into Freddy's at night and then like, whoa, chaos ensues. And it actually, I'm not being funny, it ended with them in a secret underground animatronic factory that was designing robots for the government.
Sorry, run that one past me again?
Yeah, okay. So the film was going to end with them in a secret underground animatronic factory where it was revealed that Freddy's was like a front for designing robots for the government.
You know those memes where it's like Freddy being deployed in Afghanistan?
Yeah, that. Freddy's gonna get
that
sent
is
to
exactly
Israel.
Where he got that idea from.
No, that's the thing as well. I remember there was this theory back when FNAF 1 was around, and it was like, oh my god, it was so bad. It was that the animatronics were Nazi robots.
Oh, this fucking
it was I mean, it was complete fan fiction. I don't think the guy ever finished it. But it was like they hunted down Jewish people. That was their design. I don't remember the exact like details of that theory, but that was actually a theory someone had, which I really hope they were trolling with that.
I really hope I hope they're trolling, but at the same time, like some of the early FNAF theories were fucking wild. Even MatPat wasn't spared from that.
First theory was
comparing
really
it.
Weird. That's it.
Comparing it to a real life shooting.
That's so bad. I mean, I don't think it's that bad because he does handle it quite tastefully as you can with something like that. He handles it quite tastefully in the actual video, but like nowadays, if he made that video today, he would be ripped to shreds for it.
Oh no, he would be gone.
Like that is it's really bad looking back on it. I enjoyed that video quite a lot though, because I think if I was made a fan through like Let's Play videos, that video was what made me like a mega fan. That's when I actually really started paying attention to the story and the lore.
Yeah.
Because before it was just like, oh, scary horror game, and then it was like, oh no, there's a story here. It's like,
Yeah.
it's related to this shooting from the 90s at Chuck E. Chong's, as my dad would say.
I mean, for me, it was FNAF. MatPat made that theory, and I was just like, okay. Not sure whether that's quite what Scott was going for or not, but you know what? We'll roll with it for the time being. Then FNAF 2 came out, and I was like, full on into the series, just like, yes.
Which,
Like,
I mean,
the 8-bit, I still miss the 8-bit Atari games. That shit was amazing.
but no, that was a wild theory. But anyway, we need to get back to the movie. We've gone on a massive tangent there. We have completely lost focus. Back to the movie. And I think we're just going to end the non-spoilers bit here because there isn't much I think we can talk about without going into spoilers. So my personal verdict, if you're a FNAF fan, chances are you've probably already seen it if you're listening to this. So you can stick around. If you haven't and for some reason you're listening to this, go watch it. You'll like it. Please actually go see it in the cinema. Don't watch it online. Like, don't pirate it or watch it on Peacock. Go out and see it in the cinema. You know, they need the money. Just make sure, though, when you go see the movie in the cinema, if you bring people with you, don't sit next to people who talk throughout the entire movie. I'm bringing this up, right, because it really bugged me. No, it really bugs me. So
I love it because you were concerned that I was going to be the one doing that, but it ended up being the complete opposite.
Yeah, so I had to give Sam a little pep talk before I went into the cinema. I was like, right, okay, so don't talk, don't make jokes, don't like clap at the end of the movie. I was like, just sit and enjoy it.
Fuck you, by the way.
I know, but it's because I didn't know if you knew like theatre etiquette. So I was just like, right, just a quick heads up, you know, this is how this works.
I mean, it's pretty obvious.
To them, it wasn't.
It's Freddy Fazbear!
To them, it wasn't. 3 absolute dickheads sat next to us, and I know for a fact they're probably going to be listening to this, so I don't even care. I'm saying this because I've already said it to their faces. 3 dickheads sat next to us, spoke throughout the entire goddamn movie. It was so annoying. Anytime I was starting to get emotionally invested in the movie, which was difficult with the script, by the way, or like I was like getting really into the film, I'd hear one of them yapping, and I was like, Jesus, just shut up. There was one, and that's the thing, when the film ended, I turned to the person sitting next to me, and I went, by the way, thanks for speaking throughout that whole thing. It really helped, like, heightened my enjoyment. The little dickhead had the gall to turn around and go, I didn't talk in the film. And I will bring, when we talk about certain moments in the movie, I'm going to bring up times where he talks. I don't want to get into it in this non-spoilers bit. But honestly, those 3 pissed me off so much. And
he's got like a catalogue of them in his head.
Let's say I will give one of them slack because when they watched the movie, they actually were a FNAF fan as well, and the only reason they were speaking was because the person next to them kept asking what was going on. Which is another reason why I think this movie isn't really for FNAF fans. If you don't know anything about the series, you might get lost because there are things that happen in this movie they don't really elaborate on that they probably should if you don't. Because my attitude always with the adaptations of anything is you have to keep in mind there is going to be a new audience. And that's why I think as a movie this doesn't work. In terms of being faithful to the source material, this is one of the best video game movies ever, like hands down. I would argue even better than like the Sonic movies, which are better movies. Like as movies themselves are better. But in terms of being faithful, I thought this movie was a lot better. But it will leave new fans in the dark in certain areas. So that's why I can't recommend it if you're not a FNAF fan, is because you're going to get lost in the film.
I mean, for 2 notes. First of all, I keep hearing your mic going dung dung.
That's me hitting my desk. I'm really sorry. I'm getting excited.
Fucking ADHD monkey.
Yeah.
And second of all I'll give the movie credit for the main story stuff that like would be in the games. It does expand upon it really well. It's just the stuff that isn't already in the games that it just leaves completely out in the open.
Yeah.
Which I don't like.
And that's only thing. I don't think it's intentional though that they don't expand on it. I think they just genuinely forgot. And when we get into spoilers, I'll elaborate more on this. The first and second act, I feel like they're okay written. They're not amazing. They're fine. The third act is when I think the script really falls apart, and it's like rushing to get to the end. It's like, okay, no, we can't let this movie go over like 2 hours. Let's get to the end. You know, like we just got to get to the end. Like I felt the finale was extremely rushed, and that's like my biggest problem with the script. And there are other things as well, which we'll get into. But yeah. But my final verdict is, if you're a FNAF fan, chances are you've already seen it. If not, go watch it. Go see it in the cinema. Just make sure you don't watch it with people who speak throughout the movie.
My
What
verdict
about you?
would be, if you are going to go see it in the movie, make sure you're bringing a group of 5 friends, or you initially plan to bring 6, but one of them drops out, so you have to bring 5. Make sure one of them is someone who gets really annoyed. Then when you go to sit down, you remember when we sat down? It was like the 3 dickheads were off to one side, and then you and me were like on our own with like a seat in the middle.
Yeah.
And then I said to you, "Oh, go into that middle seat because one of the dickheads, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to name his name,
Fucking say it. I don't give a
had, like,
fuck.
all right, well, Fraser, the little shit, said like he had a seating plan laid out. He had a specific order in which he wanted us to sit, and when we sat down, he was pissed off that we weren't in that orientation. So I said to you, and right, go into that empty seat just so like Fraser's happy and we're all together. I'm so happy I did that because otherwise you wouldn't be complaining right now.
No,
it would be
because
me.
I wouldn't have heard them. But it's the fact they were sitting yapping for the whole movie that pissed me off so much.
I am so happy. I
My main takeaway
did
from
not
this
hear
movie.
a thing.
My main takeaway from this movie: don't talk in the fucking theater. 1, because it will annoy me, and 2, it is so disrespectful to everyone else sitting in the cinema. That's the really thing. That's the big thing that annoys me is when people talk in the theater. Is it's really disrespectful to everyone else trying to watch the movie. And
Yeah.
I'm willing to excuse like kids talking in the cinema because they don't know any better. It's fine. But if you're over the age of 15 and you still talk in the cinema, you're gonna get a fucking backhand. There was about to be another missing kids incident. I'm telling you, will just be them 3. So it'd be the 3 missing kids of Cineworld. But I'm telling you, I'm still really upset about that.
I mean, Fraser could be classed as a child, so I would
No, he's
say
18.
we're pretty
He's 18.
accurate.
Just because
I know,
he's got
but
the brain of a 10-year-old. But
yeah, exactly. His physical age.
I really hope he listens to this. I'm not gonna lie. I hope they all listen to this.
It's just gonna be us fucking roasting the shit out of them.
But I think that's enough of non-spoilers. Let's get into the spoilers. You know, like the
Right,
real,
so-
real meat of the review.
Yeah.
Let's start
So
with it.
Freddy Fazbear dies.
No, I missed that part. Mostly because there's people talking. No,
You missed the best part of the movie.
Let's I think actually talk about the one thing I think I really want to touch on in the spoiler section. William Afton is so underutilized in this movie. He doesn't have
Agreed.
a presence throughout the entire film. He's dropped
Well-
in very last minute because they feel like they
Yeah.
feel like fuck, we need to have William Afton in this.
I fully agree. Like, I was expecting him, like, when he first shows up and he's, like, giving Mike the job,
Yeah.
and you see him, like, thingy at Schmidt, I'm like, ooh, shit. And then you just never fucking see him for another, like, hour.
Yeah, he disappeared
Until the
completely
very
from the
end.
movie.
Yeah, until the very end where Vanessa's like, oh, he's my father.
No, but that's the thing. Like in the movie, and this is the part I mean, where it's like they never elaborate on it. So in the film, he goes under the name Stephen Wrangle, I think that's how it's said, and he's a career
Something
counselor.
like that.
First of all, it's never explained why he changed his name. Secondly, I mean, I can assume he's a career counselor because Freddy's is closed and he needs a job. That's fine. I can infer that in my head through common knowledge. You think though that someone would be like, "Hey, he keeps putting people to work at this pizzeria and they keep disappearing. Hey, Steve, old pal, maybe you should stop giving people jobs there."
That is exactly what I'm like. That is my main piece of like shit with this movie. It's implied that there are security guards that keep getting sent there and keep getting killed. There is an entire group of 5 people who get murdered in the course of this movie, and yet nobody follows up. There's not a missing persons report. There's not another police officer aside from Vanessa. And I do not care how fucking good of a criminal you think Vanessa and William Afton are. They are not going to be able to cover up like 10 murders in like that singular location. That's just not going to happen.
I've been thinking about this. It's more with the security guard thing, not really the other 4 people that go missing. That is kind of something from the games, though, is that security guards go missing all the time. But I think it's fine in the games because that's not the story. Like, the security guard, let's be honest, security guard in the games, outside of the fact that we're playing them, they don't matter. Like, especially in FNAF 1, you're just a guy who has a job at Freddy's, you work there 5 nights, 2 more, and then you get fired. And that's it, you're done.
Well, isn't the story that Mike is the security guard in FNAF 1. That's how I thought it was.
I don't
Like,
I don't know 100% if I believe that theory.
I believe that's like
theory.
the universally accepted one.
I think it's a fine theory, and I know there's a lot of evidence to support it. I just personally don't like it, so I don't believe it. I'm being really petty right now with this bit. Let's just assume, like, I mean, especially with like the second game, you know, I mean, not so much the second game, more the first game, where it's like there are definitely security guards before us that went missing, and it's never really touched on. Like, we hear one of them die on the phone, and then the fifth night it's like spooky shit on the phone. That isn't touched on, but to be fair, in that scenario with that game, how are they supposed to touch on it? Because that game, all the plot is delivered through news clippings on the walls, which are like literally just hallucinations, and the phone guy. So there's no way they could have expanded on that. This film was like, it had every opportunity to and didn't take it. It could have been.
I would argue.
See, this, to me, right? I think it could have been as simple as Vanessa shows up to the restaurant, not under the guise of, oh, she likes to keep tabs on, you know, security people who work in her beat, as more as like, I am looking into the missing, like, disappearance of the other guy. Like, to me, that would make more sense. But, you know, it doesn't.
That would make infinitely more sense.
To me, that part doesn't matter, the security guard thing, because it's whatever. It's more a cold open for the film. But I can see why you have an issue with it, because it also bugs me as well. But I think not to the same extent it does as you.
I'm still going to have an issue with it, because I would say you're wrong about FNAF not touching on the security guard. In fairness, it's not a main point at all, but it is like a day or two that the security guard's been dead. That's not enough time for like people to realize he's missing and file a report and yada yada yada. So it could just be excused that it didn't happen in time, an investigation. Whereas in the FNAF movie, like a full 2 weeks or something passes.
Yeah, like I was going to say, we don't know 100% the time jump between the first security guard, the cold open of the movie, by the way. I'm going to try to keep people who haven't seen the film but are still listening. The cold open is a security guard if Freddy's gets killed, like in the games, you know. Fun fact for everyone listening, that was originally supposed to be Markiplier. That was going to be his cameo in the movie. But because he was filming his own thing, Iron Lung, at the time, it had to be cut and it had to be recast as someone else.
We got robbed of the best cameo opening possible.
To be honest, I don't know if that would have been distracting or not. To me, it's like the Matt Pat cameo. By the way, Matt Pat cameos in the movie, it's like 3 lines and it works really well. The Corey one as well is like a couple lines. That is a full like 3-4 minute long sequence. That might have been a bit much for me. That might have been a bit too much like fan servicey. But I suppose you only get it if you're a fan. That's the thing. It's like,
I wouldn't have minded it.
Yeah, that's maybe the way I changed my mind now. Actually, I wouldn't have minded it at all. Because I've just thought out loud. I'm like, actually, no, that would be fine. Because
like, you know, Mark's meant to be the king of FNAF. He's meant to be the guy who's like beating all the games. He's 100% at everything. It makes sense for him to be the final security guard. And maybe again, just like FNAF 1, he's had a really bad night and he gets shoved into the face muncher 17,000.
Which another thing in the film never followed up on. I think
never explained.
We're fans of the game, so we can kind of assume that it's maybe supposed to be the film's version of stuffing the security guards in suits. I guess, because I mean, it would maybe explain how, you know, they don't just like stay alive in the suits, but at the same time, the way I always took it in the games was the animatronics kill them, then stuff them. So
That's how I took it. Either that, or they get stuffed as they're still alive and then die because, like, you know, being stuffed into a suit isn't exactly going to be pleasant.
Yeah, but that's never followed up on. No explanation for the weird torture device thing.
The only 2 theories I've got for it are, I think on like the night, like after we went to see the movie, we all went to speak about it outside. I know your first theory was that it was just a generic torture device, but I heavily disagree with that because it just looks way too goddamn technical to be a generic torture device.
Well, I didn't.
The other theory,
was like something you could just buy at like B&Q or something. It was just a torture device William made for security guards that got too close to the truth. That was more kind of my idea. But at the same time, I would have liked some explanation as to what it was. Yeah.
Like, why does it need the moving eyes and stuff like that? That's what I was getting at. The other theory I had was that it was a remnant extractor, but there's 0 other mention of remnant in the movie. So I don't see how that could be quite right. I don't know if remnant's like a thing in this canon or not.
I assume it will be, because like I think that's how the animatronics actually do become possessed, is this idea of remnant, which maybe might have been too much on to touch like in one film. Maybe that is something that should be saved for a sequel.
maybe.
depending.
Either
on
that
the
or,
nature of the
again,
sequel.
I'm assuming for the time being, we're just. I would say just for the time being, assume it's going to be like again original FNAF theories where we assume the bodies being stuffed into the suits are enough for it to be possessed. Although I say that now that I think of it, how would William Afton still be alive? Because he's technically meant to be alive by remnant.
Exactly.
So it
Which
could be that's a thing.
I guess Remnant, it definitely could be canon to this, and they've just not talked about it yet, which is fine with me, because it also could be the same with another very important character to the series, Henry Emily. Never mentioned once in the entire movie. There's no... Let's just go over things quickly that maybe should have been in this film that weren't. First of all, no mention of the Bite of 87 at all, or 83, or Fredbear's, or anything like that. So I guess...
See, I'm okay with that.
I guess in this lore, they didn't happen.
I would say so.
I'm assuming for the time being it didn't. I feel like, to me, the way... Because in this film, Freddy's has been shut for years. Like, it's not open. Whereas in, like, FNAF 1, it is... I think it's still open in that game. I believe it is.
I think so.
It's an operating restaurant. To me, I think what would have been really interesting if it was, like, the 5 missing kids incident, like, put the thing down, put the restaurant downhill, but it was the Bite of 87 that made the place shut. Because then it kind of already puts in the like a fear in Mike's head of these things are dangerous, and then he also finds out the possession. He's like, "Oh fuck."
Well, if that would put the fear in Mike's head of these things are dangerous, that leads to the question: why would he even think to take the job when the animatronics are still there? I know he's desperate for money and stuff like that, but I don't think anybody's that desperate to go into a place full of murderous machines. Plus, realistically, I would say 5 missing kids is enough to get a place shut down.
Yeah, which
like,
is what the
because that proves that's just a very clear problem to child safety for a children's restaurant.
But
so
it's more just like I really wanted it in the film, and it wasn't there. It's not a huge issue to me. Like, it doesn't ruin the film, and we do get kind of a reference to it with the character of Max, I believe her name is, babysitter for Abby, who is working with Mike's auntie to get Abby off of Mike. By the way, for those who don't know, Mike is Abby's sister, and he's her caregiver in the movie. And there's a custody battle.
Abby
subplot.
is Mike's sister. You should have said there.
Is that what? No, oh, sorry. That's what I meant to say. But there's a whole custody subplot that doesn't really go anywhere. I didn't mind it in the first 2 acts because it kind of, it actually gives him motivation to work at the pizzeria. It makes sense. He's like, he needs a job to help win his case. Like, that to me makes sense. And it's like, kind of gives some explanation as to why he would take the job, is because he's so desperate. And also, I think it kind of gives him and Abby like an emotional journey to go on. So I'm fine with that. But then in the 3rd act of the movie, the auntie is killed by the spirit of Golden Freddy, and it is never talked about again. Which the other missing people, I'm somewhat like, I can understand why they didn't talk about it. That which you have presented to be integral to the plot, you would think it would raise some alarms in people's heads that, okay, right before they went to court over this custody thing, the auntie's dead in his house. That doesn't seem right. How is that covered up? How is that never talked about again?
Again, another one of the plot points that I noticed as the movie ended. I was just like, why? What possible reason would you have to not cover it? I don't get how a director could look at that and think, yep, nope, that's how that story ends. Oh, moving on.
That's it. That's all that is done with that custody subplot, which makes me question why it was there in the first place. Like, and I think my issue with it would have been solved if you just didn't kill her, to be honest, because, I mean, I know horror movies do this a lot. They have characters die, like, side characters died, and it's not touched on at the end of the movie, which is, it's alright, I don't really mind. But when it's like something like this, like a custody kind of battle, that to me is kind of weird that you don't talk about it again. And that's how that story ends. Just very much like, oh, yeah, she's dead, okay, whatever. Michael Afton.
That plus
not Michael Afton, William Afton. I keep doing that.
William, there's a finger in my pizza.
Oh, should we talk about YouTuber cameos quickly while we're here?
Oh yeah, sure.
So we're kind of on that topic.
Two.
Two big ones. There were a few YouTubers like Dawko and 8-Bit Ryan in the background, which I thought.
I completely forgot.
Yeah, I figured maybe in an establishing shot that they would show them on the wall. No, they don't. If they honestly, I think I said this to you. if Doco or any of those YouTubers had never said I'm in the movie, I'm in the background there, I don't think anyone would have noticed.
No, like they're
it's-
on screen for like half a frame as some
if
kids
even
like
that.
destroying the Employee of the Month board.
Yeah. Like I don't think anyone would have really noticed at all if they were in the
Yeah.
movie. But it's nice. I think that's quite a good thing to do because let's be honest, most of the YouTubers on that kind of wall are British, so it'd be kind of weird if they did speak in the movie because everyone's American. Like, oh, William, there's a kid's finger in my pizza. Like that'd be kind of weird. I think that would take me out of the movie, definitely. But no, it was nice for them to be in it. We've talked about Markiplier was going to be in it, but he couldn't because of scheduling conflicts. But
Yeah, I will also say, I don't know if you're aware of this. Doco had, his like Hex plushies, like FNAF plushies, but his own like twist on them. I think they are. They were in the movie, like at the prize corner, just like on the ground, like in broken glass. Yeah.
Oof.
So he got like a second cameo, which I thought
That's
was
actually
pretty
pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah, I feel like this film, like with the whole thing of them saying it's made for fans. Like it definitely takes moments to appreciate the fandom that got it to this point, which I quite liked, especially with Matthew Patrick having an actual minor speaking role in the movie. I quite enjoyed that, and he said the thing. He said the thing. He said it's just a.
He said the thing.
That was like the happiest I've ever been in my life, to be completely honest. When he said the thing.
I don't know why they chose to do it in like him being a waiter and saying like, oh yeah, no, lunch is the most important meal of the day. Some say it's breakfast, although that's just a few. I don't get why they chose that specific point to do it with, but as long as he says the line, I'm happy.
They just wanted to have it in there somewhere. Even if like I feel like if you're not a fan, you might be like, why the fuck is this waiter got so much screen time? What's the point in this? That would be the point where like as a non-fan, I'd be like, why are we focusing on this random like waitress for like 20 seconds? Like, get on with the movie. But
I think the audience reaction in the theater would probably be enough to like explain it.
If you're watching this at home, like without that audience, you'd probably be like, okay, that was kind of a weird place to have a joke. Moving on. I think people like Corey's cameo worked a bit better. That was more organic in the film. I want to say this now. If people hadn't told me he was a YouTuber, I never would have known. I have never heard of Corey before in my life. Before people were like, "Oh, it's him! It's the YouTuber." I've never heard of him, to be completely honest.
I've seen him before, but I wouldn't have been able to like pinpoint him from the game or from the movie even. Like I used to watch him ages ago and then I stopped. So if you showed me him now and never told me it was Corey, I probably wouldn't have been able to guess either.
Mm-hmm. No, I had no clue, to be completely honest. He was a YouTuber until the trailer leaked and someone was like, "Oh, look, it's Corey. He's in the film," and I was like, "Who the hell's Corey?" But I think his cameo was fun. I think that worked a bit better than Matt Pat's if you're not a FNAF fan, because it is just kind of a funny moment. Fun fact as well, Matt Pat actually did read for that bit too. I saw that. He released a video today. So I think I said this to you, but I was like, I'm pretty sure what happened with the YouTuber cameos was they got them all to read either the waitress bit, or I should say waiter bit because they're men, the waiter bit or the taxi driver bit, and whoever was the best got that part, and the rest were just put on the wall. They were relegated to the wall of shame. Yeah, no, I thought the YouTuber cameos were well done. I think because I know who most of the people are, I was happy. I was like, oh, it's that guy. Like it's like an inner like 10-year-old me was like, I think honestly, if this film came out was like when I was like 12, I think I would have done a backflip in the cinema to some of this stuff. Like look at this. What I mean, this is made for FNAF fans. And speaking of that stuff as well, Sparky the dog's in it. That is such a deep cut, especially to like newer fans who might not know. But okay, so for newer fans who don't know what it is, Sparky was a urban kind of myth and legend about the first game that there was a secret hidden animatronic called Sparky the dog. He's not real, by the way. He was never in the games. But he makes an appearance in the film. Not as an animatronic, as just like a suit sitting there in one scene. That was really cool. I really enjoyed that. Same shot as well. Shadow Freddy's right next to him, apparently. Might just be the lighting of the scene. But that was really cool. I like that the film has those like deep cut references. Like there's it's me appears like scrawled in like a mirror at one point, like during like a power surge. That was really cool.
See, I wasn't at all surprised to see It's Me, because that is literally again another like sort of popular bit of like, what is the word I'm looking for? Catchphrase of the
Yeah,
franchise.
it's an iconic piece of
Um,
FNAF.
yeah. I saw Sparky's Diner. That's another
Yeah,
reference
Sparky's
to
Diner.
Sparky. There's like one of the diner shots where Matthew Patrick comes out is called Sparky's. That was my initial thought of, ooh, Sparky, cool. I like that
I didn't
reference.
even think about that when we first saw it, but then I saw the clip
Yeah.
again on TikTok, and I was like, oh my god, like the dog, yeah, that's cool. And also as
Yeah.
well, if you notice in that scene, Matt Pat has Ness as his name tag, which
Oh,
in,
yes.
in Matt Pat's video that he's just released as the time of recording this, literally today, where he talked about his experience on set, Scott made very clear to him that the reason he did that was because of his Sans as Ness theory. That was the reason he did it, was just to mess with Matt Pat, which I think is incredible. Oh, this is why Scott's so great. Like, you can look past all the bigotry and donating to Republicans, and you just see that he's a goofy guy, you know?
I don't think it's bigotry more so. I think Matt Pat like did a literal game theory episode when the controversy broke out, and it was like politics in America works way differently,
Yeah.
and you can only do like he was pretty much forced to donate to them. He was donating for other policies, but it had the side effect
It
of
just happened.
the,
It was that.
you know.
And I
Yeah.
don't. I really wanted to avoid speaking about this. It's my own fault for bringing it up. My attitude is on the situation. I don't agree with what he did, and I don't think that really people should defend him. But at the same time, I don't think he deserved to like be almost cancelled over it. I think for the
Yeah.
most part, Scott seems like a stand-up guy, and I don't think he is like a bigot or like a homophobe or anything like that. But
I
let's be honest,
highly doubt it.
if he is though, would it be a surprise? He's from Texas. He's a Republican and he's Christian. That is like the three pillars of bigotry in America. And I'm not saying he is, obviously. I'm not saying he is, or he could be. I don't know. I don't know him personally.
If he is, he's pretty fucked because 90% of the FNAF franchise is gay, pretty much.
Yeah,
Not gay, like LGBT. I mean,
I remember actually seeing it was a thing on Twitter. It was like, it's like I don't know how many people are saying they're not going to see the FNAF movie in cinemas. They're like, it will be the biggest gay meetup of the century. They're like, all the gays in your
Perfect.
area will be there. It's like a dating like speed dating for gay FNAF fans.
well, that's why Fraser was there then, wasn't it?
No, he was with his bird, who we'll go nameless because I don't want to humanize her. I've got that immortalized now that I don't like her. But I want to clarify quickly. I don't actually hate her. I'm just gonna put this in the recording. I don't actually hate her. I just like winding her up. It's really funny. It's really
The
funny.
hole's getting deeper, Ewan.
It's really funny to annoy her. But we've got completely
Fucking hell.
sidetracked, haven't we? But this
We
is
do that
more-
a lot.
This is more, I think, just in general us talking about the movie, kind of thing. So we're not
Yeah.
like we haven't got structure here. We did kind of, but it was like we'll go movie development, non spoilers, then spoilers. Let's talk about. I want to go back to the Afton thing. I really want to go back to that. The fact that he has no presence in the movie really annoys me. He has barely any screen time. It feels like he was really forced into the finale because they're like, we need to have William Afton in the finale.
Yeah.
I wish he had. Like, that's the thing. So the missing kids incident in this movie, it's talked about, and we see it in kind of a 8-bit sort of rendition during the opening credits. By the way, banging music in the opening credit. I want to say as a whole, I thought the movie had really great music. Like, I thought the soundtrack was really well done.
I agree. Yeah, like it's like perfect for a FNAF movie.
Yeah,
I know. One of my mates who we tried to get on the podcast, but he's being an arsehole and not joining. Essentially, he's a huge music nerd, and he was like obsessing over like this one a cappella in the soundtrack, which is
Yeah.
like some kids. It's kids humming some sort of melody, but I listen to it, and I agree, it's like perfect.
It is. I think it really fits the tone of the movie. While we're on production, I want to say this now because I talked about it in the non-spoilers bit. I thought this movie was fantastically directed. There are so many moments in this movie that I'm like, that's so well done. I think the director Emma Tammy, she nailed it. There's a couple of things that stand out to me. So first of all, the dream sequences, which we haven't even talked about, which I think shows kind of how relevant they are to the plot. That we haven't spoken about them in like the half an hour we've been doing non-spoilers.
I
No,
mean,
no,
they
no,
are
no,
relevant. It's just that we
Kind
keep
of.
getting fucking sidetracked.
Yeah. I thought they were really well done. I really enjoyed the dream sequences. It's like that one shot of when the I think it's like root beer gets spilled over, and it's like you can see it like fizzing into the table. It's like it's such a mundane thing, but the way it's shot and done is so like visceral and it makes you uncomfortable. That's why I really love that. And the scene where the animatronics like kind of reveal themselves to Abby, and she's kind of playing with them, and Mike runs in. I thought that was really well done, because when it's focused on the animatronics or Abby, the camera's still. But then when it's focused on Mike, it's like spinning around to show just how terrified he is right now. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
As well as when the animatronics are performing kind of for the first time, when Vanessa shows up and hits the Showtime button, like the way the camera kind of zooms in on them and just focuses on how like unnaturally they move, that was brilliant. That was really well done. The POV shots of all the animatronics were great, like kind of how it's like more like a fisheye lens. All that stuff. I think this film was fantastically directed. Please, please, please keep her on for the sequel, because she did such an amazing job. Just wanted to like geek out about that for a minute, because
That's
I wanted to get it off my chest, because I feel like we're a way to get really negative here, and I want to clarify I do actually really like this movie. But I think it's because I'm a FNAF fan, and because a lot of it is me pointing and going, "That's the thing I know." But there are real problems with this movie that I think need to be addressed. William Afton having absolutely no presence in the story. He literally is the reason for the inciting incident of everything in the movie with the missing kids, and he appears in I think 2 scenes, and one of them he's not even William Afton, he's like Stephen Rangel, and then it's revealed, oh my god, it's the guy from before, but never explained why he changed his name, and it's just kind of something that's just left there.
I think it would honestly be really surprising if non-fans were even able to connect him to like the intro sequence of the missing kids. Like, that's how unclear he's like done. It would have been. I don't know how you could give him more screen time at the same time of saying this. Sorry for the burp there. Excuse me.
What they should have done is in one of the dream sequences, have one of the kids take Mike back to when they went missing. And we can actually see the pizzeria in its heyday, give us a frame of reference of how much of a shithole it is now. When we do kind of see it with the training tape that's left, which I thought was maybe supposed to be a bit of a homage to the FNAF like VHS stuff, which I've seen a lot of people being like, this is what FNAF movies should have been. I'm going to talk about that in a bit, because there are criticisms towards this movie that I'm like, that's not the problem with the movie. And I really hope they don't listen to those people, because... Okay, I'm getting into it now, fuck it. The people saying that this film isn't gory enough, if they added more gore, that's not going to fix the problems with the movie, okay? Like, gore, like, let's say, I do think, in an ideal world, the FNAF movie would have been a bit more gory. But let's say, it still fits with the games, because in the games, most of the gore is implied, or we don't really see it that well. I think the most gory thing in all of the games is Springtrap, because it's like a rotten corpse inside of him. But even then, most of the time, the rotten corpse is covered by this, like, the suit. And I don't think
I'm smiling at the moment.
Why?
I'm smiling at the moment because the game's not being gory enough is one of my main problems with the entire franchise. I don't think it's gory or scary enough. Like, I get FNAF had sort of built its reputation as, like, being a kid's horror game. I don't think it should be that. I think it should strive out to be more, and... I'm sorry to say it, but if we get to see more direct, like if literally there was a 3D sequence where we saw Springtrap literally grabbing one of the kids and dragging it to the back, that would be okay for me. Like I actually want to see that gore. I want to see the terrifying shits face on. I don't want it to be implied to me that it's happened.
No, for me, right, I don't think adding gore to this movie fixes a lot of stuff. To be honest, I think there's some scenes maybe should have been more gory. The Springtrap scene, there should have, like when he gets spring locked at the end, there should have been a lot more blood there, I think.
Yeah, no, that's my opinion as well. Just at the same time, gore would have helped make it more terrifying, if that makes sense. Like, they sort of go hand in hand with each other, in my opinion.
I don't think that's the kind of horror FNAF has ever gone for. It's always been more atmospheric and unsettling you. It's never been, like, in-your-face gore horror. Like, that's just not what FNAF is to me. It's very atmospheric, and it builds tension through dingy and, like, creepy environments. And I think, obviously... Like when the gore comes, it's like it should be like, oh my god, I wasn't expecting this in a FNAF game. But I think having like a lot of people saying that the film's not gory enough, that's not the big issue with this film. Like I don't think the film would have been more improved if like there was just blood everywhere and like there was shit spewing out and it was like entrails going about. That wouldn't have fixed the film for me. And I don't think that's what FNAF
what I mean.
is. It's more atmospheric. It's more in your head stuff. It's your imagination is always going to be worse than what's actually there, and that's what FNAF, like the original game, preyed on, because it was like this dark, dimly lit environment, and it was these figures in the dark that you couldn't see well, and it was like your imagination did a lot of the work and made it scary. And so I don't think having all this like in your face gore is ever going to make this film better. And I will argue
that's what I mean.
New games aren't scary. Like they're very much too kiddie, in a sense. And I think, I mean, we're going off a bit of a tangent here. I think I've narrowed down why I don't find Security Breach scary. It's because it's all too clean, the environments. It's all too sanitized. Even with
Well, nobody finds Security Breach scary.
Yeah, but like especially the
I don't think
game,
anybody does.
The main designs, the animatronics, they don't have that uncanny valley that the original designs did. Like, they're too marketable, and that's the issue.
I'm just ignoring Security Breach as a whole. To be honest, like I'm just not thinking about it. I'm going back to the first 4, and that's it.
I think it's what we should do when we're looking at these games. But I do actually have a point with this whole thing. Is I think that uncanny kind of vibe is what this film does perfectly with the animatronics. Like it does that atmospheric, like slow build of tension. Your imagination doing the work for you, because I always think whatever you imagine is probably going to be scarier than what the film presents. I think the film does that incredibly well, and to say that the film would have been 10 times better if like the spring lock scene was more gory, you're kind of like, I feel like you're watching FNAF for the wrong reasons. I feel like you've just kind of watched the VHS tapes and gone, that's what we want. If you want that, go watch the VHS tapes. They're there. They're for free on YouTube. And also, you know, those creators are actually really good and could use your support. But it's never been what the main series has been. It's like those... As much as I love those VHS tapes, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of them are brilliant. Squimbles McGrimpus, despite the fact that they're a creep and a predator, those original tapes are great. Bannington's tapes are great. Mean Bear is great. Like, all that stuff is great. But it's a different type of horror that it's going for, because that is more in your face and gory compared to what the original series is. And I think if you're adapting those original games to film, it needs to have that same kind of vibe, I think.
See, I'm still going to pick this bone for the sake of, again, like, FNAF 1 to 4 I found scary just because I was like 12 years old. I'm not going to lie to you, I did not find that movie that scary. Like, there were a couple of moments where it got me, like with the Balloon Boy jump scares and stuff like that. But, you know, that's just cheap jump scares.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
In terms of...
With Asuka, yeah. Is that the film actually being scary, or is that just going, oh, God, that was a jump scare?
No, it's just going, it's a jump scare, which is the exact same problem I have with the games as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, you're saying the atmosphere does most of the work. I personally don't get that. Like, I've never found Five Nights at Freddy's to be truly scary. It can get me at times, but for the most part, it's not. It's never been truly, like, actually terrifying for me. Whereas if I play a game like, what fucking other horror games have I played? Like, fuck it, I'll do The Park, which is a horror game I played, like, way back in like 2018. That game genuinely terrified me at times because it does a great job of keeping it dark. It shows you stuff that's like, it shows you head on what horrors are going on, and that's something I feel like Five Nights at Freddy's is missing. It's not that it's missing atmosphere or anything. It's just that I'm not seeing, like, I'm having to imply a lot of what's going on. Whereas if it just shows you it straight on, that would terrify me infinitely more than any sort of imagination, like, oh, he's been kidnapped could. Like, if it showed, like, fucking Garrett getting, like, bludgeoned with an axe or something. I know that's a really extreme example, but you know what I mean. Like, and that's what I mean as well when I say the gore and horror go hand in hand. I'm not saying just amp up the gore. I don't agree with that. I would agree that it would be more like a Doom. But at the same time, if you amped up the gore just enough and then followed the atmosphere with it, like, again, have a shot where, like, instead of the 2D Atari stuff, an actual 3D scene of, like William Afton in the Springlock suit, taking a kid through to the back room, and then you just see him, like, pull out a knife at the final, like, second, and then you hear a scream, and the entire, like, pizzeria goes, like, black. Just all the parents are just like, what the fuck was that? That would be terrifying to me.
I know, but here's the thing. Like, we're talking about this. At the end of the day, what people find scary is subjective, and I think.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of reviews from critics. They said they just didn't find the film that scary. They were like, it's not that scary of a movie. Which, to be honest, I feel like there are a lot of moments in the movie where it maybe should have tried to be a bit scarier. Like, I agree, in some instances it does play it a bit too safe. I'm not talking about the gore, I'm just talking about the general, like, tone of the film. And
fucking building a fort in the middle.
Which, I mean, let's talk about the fort thing then. Fuck it, we're talking about the fort. I think you'll remember, I full on face palmed when that came on. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, no, you face palm. I like collapsed in my seat.
Yeah, I remember actually looking over and you were like almost on the floor, like just done.
Like, I was just dead. Like, I was a literal fucking skeleton watching that movie when that came on.
To be fair, in the context of the greater movie, it makes sense, and I'm not saying that seems like bad, and I'm able to appreciate now. It's like, oh, it's fun, it's whatever. It's like a fun.
It's a break
moment.
from the horror.
Yeah, but I think, should you be doing that with your main antagonists of the movie? Because I mean,
no.
In the story, they're not the antagonists technically. It's William Afton. And here's the thing with William, though. When he's in the film, it's actually really great. I think he's well done when he's on screen. It's a fact he's only on screen twice is the problem with him. But we're talking about the fort bit. To me, it completely just kind of ruined the scare factor of the animatronics. After that, I couldn't find them scary, which I don't know if it's because I've been a fan of this series for 9 years, and I think this might be the same for a lot of people. I just don't find these designs scary anymore. I've seen them so much, I'm just used to them. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's Freddy and Bonnie, Chica and Foxy. Like, I don't even... in my head, it doesn't register anymore that they're really that scary.
It's never been like that for me, more so just, again, I don't think they're presented scary enough.
That's
and
what I mean. It's just...
The fort scene really doesn't help with that either.
Yeah, kind of rude. It makes them too, seem like cuddly and approachable, which you really shouldn't be doing in a horror movie. Which is why I'm pretty sure that scene takes place after the gang goes into Freddy's, fucks up, and then they all get killed. I'm correct in saying that, right? That's after.
Yes,
that
you
scene.
Are.
Which, okay,
it's after.
Good placement, because if that scene had come after, I would not have been able to take that scene seriously. Because I've just fucking seen Bonnie build a fort.
Oh, right, yeah, no, I see what you mean, okay.
Yeah. And honestly, I think... I don't know, that scene kind of ruined the scare factor of the film for me, because it makes them seem too cuddly and they're really just nice little cinnamon buns, Which
I've seen people online saying that scene was their favorite part of the film because it's I think it's to do with how it shows that they're still children possessing these animatronics.
Yeah.
And they're not just mindless killing machines. They do have a little bit of free will and they are happy and stuff like that.
Which, to be fair, I think it's what someone who watched the film with us did say afterwards. And I understand the intent behind it. And I don't think the scene's that bad. This is very much a subjective thing here for me. I think it did ruin the scare factor bit of the animatronics, because afterwards I was just like, no, it's they don't look creepy enough anymore. I was like,
yeah, if I was a 80s kid, if I was born in 1960, 1970, and I went to a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and I got murdered by a yellow bunny, I would be fucking livid. I would not be building a fort 20 years from then. I would be after that fucker.
Yeah.
So,
to be fair, the film does kind of address this, that they don't really remember much of their past.
That is true. I did see that. You see throughout the film as well, during the dream sequences. This is another side point, but I'm just going to address it. During the dream sequences, when the kids are on screen, you'll see some of the background kids actually have their faces blurred out.
That's really well done. That's
which I did. Yeah, I didn't notice that at the
film.
time, but it does show that they're forgetting who they are. It's been so long and they've been trapped in there that they're sort of merging with the animatronics' personality as opposed to having their own personality, being their own kid.
See, now that you mention that, I actually kind of remember seeing that in the movie, but I thought it was just because our projection was shit. Because it was, by the way. Quick, another thing that ruined the film a bit, the projection was terrible in our screening. Cineworld, you need to step your game up.
It was the contrast for me. It was the first thing I noticed when the movie first came out. I was like, "Wait, is that the?" The blacks were grey, mid grey, not low grey, mid grey. It was horrific, and it made me miss a lot of those Easter eggs. Again, I didn't notice Shadow Freddy or Sparky. I could barely see what was going on in some of the darker scenes. Like, I had to squint my eyes at some points.
And
so, Cineworld, thumbs down.
yeah, thumbs
I
down.
want my $5 back.
I actually got a email from them asking to leave feedback, and I actually did put an email back saying your projection is terrible and like fix that. Because it's like, I've watched a couple of like clips online from after we've seen the movie, and it looks a lot better. And I'm like, I kind of wish this was the way I saw it for the first time.
Yeah.
Because my first experience has now kind of been tainted by the shit projection and also the shitty people sitting next to us, but we're not going to talk about that anymore because don't get me going again. I might start shouting.
I love how Fraser's the only one we've named as well. Like, just him, no one else.
I feel like it'd be a bit unfair to name the other two because at least with Fraser, like the channel I'm going to upload this on, he's appeared on the channel before. So it's like...
So
if people are
so
fans
people
of this
know
channel,
who to blame.
Yeah. I say people are fans of this channel. All the people that subscribe to this channel, I'm pretty sure, are also in the videos as well. I only have like 7 or 8 subscribers, but no, hopefully this video will become viral and like take off, and then I'll get like 2 million subscribers in a week.
If that does happen, so help me God, I refuse to be a part of it anymore if we're going to continue calling it the Five Nights at Freddy's podcast.
Oh, we're not calling it the Five Nights at Freddy's podcast. This video will be called the Five Nights at Freddy's movie review podcast, but this podcast is a unnamed review podcast. That's not the title. It genuinely doesn't.
That's going to be our
name.
final name, isn't it?
It might be, but genuinely, this doesn't have a name. This podcast doesn't have a name. This is just a thing
Fuck's sake.
that we're doing.
Untitled document.
Untitled documents. God, that's actually not a bad name. You know, if we ever do more, I might call it that. No, I'm joking. Like I said in the intro, this might be the first one we do of many, or it might be the first and only one.
If we do ever get popular, our merch, and we do decide to name it Untitled Podcast, our Untitled Document, our merch is just going to be a white, like, t-shirt. Nothing on it. Guaranteed.
Not even
like,
text,
there's no other
just
way
sell
we can
white
do that.
t-shirts.
Just literal white t-shirts.
The shittest.
We sell them for 50 quid.
To be honest, that's like the only YouTuber merch I would wear. I refuse to wear any YouTuber merch because it screams... I think, to me personally, if I see someone wearing YouTuber merch, it screams, I don't shower enough.
Oh, well, fuck then.
Take the hint, Sam. No, I'm joking. But what were we talking about?
Good question.
Oh my god.
It was the fort building scene and then it
the
evolved
fort
into
building
something
scene.
else.
Yeah. Oh, I was just saying I don't find them that scary.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it kind of ruined the scare factor of the animatronics for me. Because I think before that scene, like I said, I was talking about the Showtime bit, that was really well directed because it made them look creepy and unnatural. The way the camera kind of moved like really close in on them as they were doing like their weird movements. But in that scene, they moved too like naturally. They lost that factor. And when I saw them like that for the rest of the movie, I couldn't unsee it.
Yeah.
But
like, just shouldn't have been there.
Mm-hmm. But let's,
and then also, I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna talk about another like the bit right after that, or like during it as well, where Vanessa, the security guard who actually knows what's going on, encourages Abby to go play and frolic with them and stuff like that. Then outside, has a complete fucking 180 and just turns to Mike and goes, "If you bring her back here, I'll shoot you."
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I actually completely forgot about that. Oh my god, yeah.
Like, why was she encouraging it in the first place if it was that bad to her? Like,
I mean, Vanessa, I think we should just talk about the character of Vanessa, because to me, that's the biggest problem in the movie. And I want to say up front, I think the way that the actress delivers that role is incredibly well done. I think she did a fantastic job. Honestly, I think all the actors in this movie, actors and actresses, were fantastic. Abby, she's a child actor. And the more I thought about her performance, I'm like, at the end of the day, it's like a 10-year-old. And I think for a 10-year-old, that's still a good performance. And I hope that she continues to get roles and get better. But I think
I didn't notice anything wrong with her performance, to be honest.
Some lines are a bit flat and like delivered weirdly. But I'm very much like, she is a child, you know?
She's a child portraying a child. I would say that's fine.
I don't know if I could do better. And I'm like 19, and I'm on an acting course at college. I don't know if I could do better, to be completely honest. But I thought she was, honestly, thinking about it now, was a bit harsh in my initial thoughts on her. She was really good in the movie, and I hope that she gets more roles after this and kind of be her big breakout.
Yeah.
Josh Hutcherson is...
Did you know...
Oh, you're going?
I would say, did you know she also has autism?
Yeah, I remember one of the people with us saying that, which makes sense, to be honest. We need more autistic actors representation.
I think in the movie she's meant to be autistic as well.
It's implied.
I don't know.
Because there's points where I think it's the Auntie says she's like a mentally ill child, and Mike's like, she's not mentally ill. By the way, while we're talking about Mike, Josh Hutcherson, fantastic in this movie. He was...
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, he's the lead, but he was the standout in this movie to me. I thought every scene he was in, he was giving it his all. There's a bit towards the final act where the ghosts of the dead kids are like, if you give us Abby, we can let you have your family back in like these dreams. You can have the same dream every night for always and forever, where you're with your family again. And you can see the conflict just in like his eyes alone. That was fucking incredible. He is honestly was so great in this movie, and I'm really glad.
I want to see him in more stuff.
Yeah, I hope to see him in more stuff. He is quite a prolific actor. He's not like a big A-list star, but he has been in quite a few stuff. He was in like the Hunger Games films. As like I said, that's all I really know him for, to be completely honest. I do know him for a video he recorded at some point. I don't know what he was doing, but he like does like a Morty impression. Like he's watching like a Rick and Morty episode, and he does like a Morty impression, and he turns the camera back around and he goes, "Haha, Rick and Morty for life." And I'm like, that's our Mike. That's my guy.
Morty!
No,
get in the car, Morty!
Wrong character.
Oh, I don't know. No, that's not what.
No, I don't. Let's drop this.
How do you do a Morty voice?
I don't know.
Or my voice acting career just dies.
Beat your girlfriend and tie her to a radiator. That'll help you get in character. Justin Roiland's anything I go by. I think that's what he did. I don't know.
Okay, and you cut the earlier bit. Yeah, you're leaving this bit in.
It's fine. Justin Roiland's a piece of shit. I can make fun of him.
True.
But
anyway, moving
on. But yeah, we've kind of Vanessa's character, not great at all. She goes between, I think, being very loyal to her dad, and then at the drop of a hat, going against him with no explanation.
Yeah, that was going to be the next bit I brought up. I don't get why she is abided, or like why she just didn't start off like just telling Mike the fucking truth. Like, yeah, I know these kids are fucking dangerous.
That's the thing.
These bitches wild.
I understand why, to a point, she kind of went along with what her dad wanted her to, because it's her dad and it's very clear she's terrified of what he's going to do to her. Because, I mean, he fucking stabs her, so there's not a lot of love between him and her, but it's obvious she, I think, because of what happened in the past, is terrified to do anything. And so
I don't think it's even what happened in the past, because
out of like fear,
it's very clear. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very clear that William's been still like manipulating her and stuff like that. If it was a terror thing, why would she ever side with Mike?
That's what I mean, though. We don't know. I think her change of heart, where she stops going along with her dad's plan and kind of fights back, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't think there's really any moment in this movie where I could see why she does what she does, like her turning point. It just kind of happens, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, there is one moment in the movie I quite like with Vanessa as a character, where she goes to Mike's house after the intruders like break in, and obviously she covered. I'm assuming she covered that up or whatever. She's the one that put the bodies in the back and hid them. And her and Mike have a sit down, and he kind of talks about like the past and all that, and his whole like dream theory thing. And
which, by the way, nice reference.
Yeah, and he's talking about how he kind of had a loving family, but he doesn't have any more. And she's like, that actually sounds quite nice. That moment to me was like, okay, I know that's a great bit of character development, especially when you think about what happens later in the movie, because obviously she didn't have that kind of loving family thing. And I was like, okay, no, that's actually really great. And that to me feels like it was planting the seeds of her eventual turnover. But then it never really goes any further than that. Is the reason she portrays her dad after all this time of helping him is because Mike's family kind of sounded nice, I maybe want that one day. I'm gonna shoot my dad. Like, I don't fully understand her change of heart. And to be honest, we could be just missing something. But
that's what I was going to say. I think when Elizabeth or fucking Vanessa reveals that she's Afton's daughter, she shows Mike a photo, and she is next to Springtrap holding that red plane that Garrett had. So, which was initially the moment where I connected to, obviously, William Afton was the one that kidnapped Garrett. I think that was just screamed obvious.
Well, they do explicitly state that in the movie. Because she goes, true. I didn't know about Garrett until recently. Or,
that's what I'm saying,
she
though.
didn't know Garrett was Mike's brother. She knew about what happened, but she didn't know.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, when she shows her... No, I meant just, like... when, like, throughout the movie, as Mike's trying to figure out who killed Garrett, I just thought to myself, it's going to be William, obviously. There's not going to be a second murderer. But this is a tangent for another time.
Yeah.
So...
I don't get why she had to change of heart. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
That's what I'm saying. When Elizabeth I keep calling her Elizabeth, because that's who I associate with being Afton's daughter.
Yeah.
When Vanessa shows... shut up, Alexa! When Vanessa shows Mike that photo, she's holding the red plane that Garrett had. So I'm wondering if maybe she somehow connected that back at some point, or like if it was very clear that Afton took it as a trophy of him killing Garrett and then gave it to her. What I don't get is how she was able to connect that trophy back to him, or if she did at some point, like, and then that was the beginning of like the turnaround. So it could be that she had a nice family. Then she found out that actually her dad's a fucking serial killer. And complete 180, he's fucking evil. No, if that makes sense. That might be why she had to turn a heart. What I don't get, though, is how she would connect Garrett back to that red plane, because she's never had visions of the dream. Only Mike has.
Well, I think to me it's pretty obvious William told her. He doesn't seem very shy about like hiding his killings from her. So I think probably what happened was he gave it to her and was like, I killed a boy called Garrett Smith for that. Smith!
Well, no, because she's like 10.
Well, we could have told her later in life.
Second of all, she's like 10.
We could have told her later.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She probably found out or got told later.
I assume that she found out about, by the way, I got that off a kid I killed called Garrett Schmidt. And then it's when she met Mike. Because I don't know if he actually says my name's Mike Schmidt. But, because she does say I didn't realise when we first met the connection. So it's obvious she found out, probably when investigating into Mike, to make sure he wasn't getting close to the truth. Like her dad told her to. It's probably when she was doing that, she's like, oh shit. Or it could have been when Mike was telling her about what happened. But this is what I mean. I don't think that, and this is from purely a writing standpoint, not really from an acting standpoint, because I think the two actors of Mike and Vanessa had great chemistry. I don't think they had enough of a connection where like Vanessa would suddenly change her mind about not helping her dad. This is what I mean. It confuses me why I feel like the film needed another moment between either them two or just anything with Vanessa to expand her a bit more and be like, okay, this is why she's actually changed her mind and she wants to help Mike save Abby.
Yeah.
Because like, it was a thing you mentioned earlier about she encourages Abby to go and play with the animatronics by herself, and then when she gets injured, Vanessa turns and goes, I'm going to shoot you, Mike, you dick, if you ever bring her back here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's very clear that she knows what's a way to happen.
She does.
She knows that the kids... Yeah, so why doesn't she bring it up earlier? It's not even that Abby getting injured might have caused that. It's just that she very simply did not bring it up until she was out of the building and everything had already been done.
Yeah,
I don't think it was a case that she decided to do it because I don't think Abby getting injured had anything to do with that change of heart. It was just she did a complete 180 for no reason.
Yeah, just kind of.
I don't see how Abby getting injured would do that. Yeah.
But oh well. I think the third act of the movie is really where I think the script just goes. Like it's like they're rushing to get to the end, and they're like, okay, we need to have an ending with William Afton. We need to have the Springboks. We need to do all this for the fans, and they kind of forget to just tell a story, like a coherent one. And it's when you stop and think about it, just for like 5 minutes, you're like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But to be honest, we could be missing something because, well, I'm gonna bring this up just to embarrass you a little bit. with you saying you thought Mike's co-worker at the start would like come back in the movie, I asked everyone else we saw the movie with, did you think that would happen? They went no, because I think
right.
I don't know why you think that. He's given the same amount of significance as like the next character in that scene who works at the like slushy place, and it's like, oh, you bring your sister back? Did you think she was going to come back as well?
Believe it or not, I slightly thought it. Like I thought she might have been a friend. Like again, they're presented as mates of his. I don't see why they would. I don't see why they're set up like that.
It's like work friends. It's the thing. Like normal people have just work friends that they don't speak to outside of work. I've got work friends I don't really speak to outside of work.
I've got work friends that I don't speak to outside of work.
Yeah, it's just like that. It's just that kind of relationship.
Like I wouldn't. No. But I don't sit with them at lunch and like talk about shit. Like normally at lunchtime we'll go our separate ways and like go back to work. Well, whereas Mike is actually sitting at a table with him.
You work during
his
IT,
lunch,
right? You work in IT. You're all like
I work in IT
kind of inept in a way. It's part of the job, you know. Like it's just kind of what I would expect. But no, it's probably they're just work friends who just happen to have lunch together. I mean, I remember like over the summer when I worked in a certain supermarket, which I'm not going to name on here for personal reasons. I remember sometimes if me and another coworker had lunch at the same time, we'd get lunch together. Like it was just kind of a thing work friends do. You know, it's just
I've never done that.
It was just work friends. That was the way I saw it, and that was the way everyone else who came to the film saw it. Was they were just work friends.
Maybe my social skills aren't up to par then, because the only person I go to lunch with at work is one of my mates who also happens to have the same job as me. That's it.
Yeah.
Where, like I'll speak to him outside of work and stuff like that. I do not ever go to lunch with my workmates as well.
Yeah, but anyway, moving past that, what were we actually talking about again? We might have missed something with Vanessa's arc, to be completely honest. I don't think I did. I think I remember it quite well. I only saw the movie so today's Saturday technically. I mean, it is like 12 now on Sunday morning. But I saw the movie
4 days ago.
4 days, like it was 4 days, and it's still pretty fresh in my head. I don't think I missed anything.
I don't think you could have missed anything with her character.
But let's also, while we're on the topic of the Aftons, let's talk about William Afton being Garrett's killer. I fucking hate that. That is I hate that. It doesn't make sense to me. And let's be honest though, William Afton, his motivations for doing anything in the movie are never explained. I mean, they're not really explained in the games either. The Remnant's kind of a thing, I guess. Some kind of explanation.
That's confirmed his motive in the games though. Like in the books, it's literally his motive. He kills so that he can get Remnant. In the games, some of the animatronics have literally, like the sister location animatronics have like holes in their stomachs and stuff to pick up kids and extract Remnant out of them. That's how Elizabeth got killed, yada yada yada.
Yeah,
so it does make sense for it to be Remnant. If Remnant was mentioned in the movie at fucking all!
This is what I mean, we don't know. There's no motivation behind what William does. He is, like I say, he's an afterthought in this movie, and he's supposed to be the main antagonist of the series.
Even if it was just like 2 lines that were just like, why do you kill William, huh? Like during the final showdown with Vanessa or something, she just like, why are you like this, Dan? And he's just like, you wouldn't understand, I've got a bigger goal. That alone would be enough for
at
me
least
to
it's like, okay, well, he does have like some reason behind this, we just don't like know it.
Yeah.
And the film is acknowledging,
but no, there's nothing.
We're not going to touch on this, but we'll save it for a sequel. In this, there's nothing. He's just a weird little guy that killed like 6 kids that we know of, and is like shouting at them like, I made you, look how small you are, like that.
Yeah, like, I don't get it.
I mean,
I always come back.
There's no reason for him to say that in this movie. There's absolutely no reason for him to say that. He just comes out with it.
I mean, there is a planned sequel. Well, I say planned. There's plans, like, if they are going to do a sequel, they've got, like, foundation for it. Like, there's rumors that the marionette's going to be and stuff like that because of evidence, but whatever. So it does, like, it's probably to set up for that. It was just the way the line was forced.
It felt like incredible. It was very much put in there because it was like, fans want the thing, let's put the thing in there.
Yeah. Like, they could have easily just had him just like, I made you, you're not going to change anything, you don't realise that I always come back. Even that would have been a better delivery. I
just think they should have had that. Just let him die quietly. That's my attitude. Just
yeah.
Shh. Just imagine I just shushed William Afton, famous serial killer. I would love to show him. Speaking of William Afton, though, I think I've already said this, but Matthew Lillard does a very good job with the role. I think he plays it incredibly well. It's a shame he's only in 2 scenes.
I personally, I think he's done a good job with acting, but I'm gonna agree with Matt Pat here when he was analyzing the trailers. He said that Matthew Lillard was doing the voice a bit like Donald Trump, and as I was watching the movie, I sort of noticed that as well.
No, don't.
Like, yeah, this job.
You've just ruined it for me. You've just ruined the film.
Yeah, this job. The power's a bit iffy.
No,
you know, great guy, best guy, one of my best friends.
You've actually just ruined the performance for me now. Because I'm also thinking as well, the way he says when he's shouting at the kids and he's going, "Look how small you are," like that.
Woo!
Oh my god, you've just ruined the whole movie for me. Don't go see this movie now. I've changed my mind. Oh my god.
Fucking, I'm surprised you didn't pick up on that. That seems like the sort of thing you should have easily picked up on.
But the thing, now that you say it, it's so obvious, and I don't know why I didn't notice it. And if no one else, if anyone listening hasn't noticed that, you've also just ruined it for them too. I hope you're proud of yourself.
I'm very proud of myself.
But fuck. Well, again, what were we talking about? Oh yeah,
Matthew Lillard not being in the movie enough.
Yeah. I actually remember now. It was about William Afton is so underdeveloped and underutilized in this movie. You could argue they're saving it for a sequel. But what happens if they don't? Like, obviously they're going to get one because this film has been a huge success at the box office, and it's like the first weekend isn't even finished, and this film has done absolute numbers. What would happen if it didn't get a sequel? Like, that's the thing. I don't mind movies setting up sequels, but I feel like movies should strive to be a self-contained plot. And I think to my favorite movie here, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, that film does set up a sequel. Yeah, I've got a poster on my wall. No, I'm not even joking. I've got like one of the posters on my wall. That film sets up a sequel, but if a sequel wasn't made, I don't think anyone would be like, but wait, I've still got unanswered questions, because it wraps up everything in that movie perfectly. Whereas with this, I feel like it sets up plot threads that don't go anywhere, and it's really stuff that should be answered in this film.
Yeah. I would say that, honestly, all things considered, with the amount of money that FNAF makes in general, there's probably going to be a sequel anyway, even if it didn't do well.
Matthew Lillard's already talked about when he signed on to do this movie, he signed on for a free picture deal. So it's obvious from the start they've planned sequels out. But like, what if this movie bombed? And it's not, obviously, because the film cost $20 million to make, and in its opening weekend it's made $130 million. Like, it's definitely not a bomb. We're definitely getting a sequel. But what if it like only made like £2? Then what? We just have this incomplete story.
£2.
That's less
£2
than,
whole pounds.
That's less than like
$20 million. $20 million to make £2
No, you'd actually be losing like 19 million and like 19. I'm not going to do that number. That's way too long. They'd be losing a lot.
Come on. 19,999,998 pounds.
There you go. See, that number's too long for me. Did you pass Nat 5 Maths? I actually don't remember. Did you?
Nope.
No, you didn't pass it. I didn't. I can't even do that.
I probably did it wrong, to be honest.
I just get confused. But I think the people will know what we're talking about. I'm saying the people. We don't even know if people are going to listen to this. We're doing what the
people
did. We're setting up plot threads that might not go anywhere if this bombs.
Ah, fuck.
If this gets less than 10 views, I'm never doing this again. I've decided.
I'm gonna just refresh the page 10 times just so I can piss you off.
Really low bar for myself here. But yeah, no, I just think that William's motivations, if you weren't going to explain them in this movie, what's the point in having him in this film? I think, like, I don't know, it seems like it's kind of weird how they set him up, but then we never get answers as to why he did it, which I don't know if that's supposed to be the point or not. And hear me
I don't know.
With William killing Garrett, him being Garrett's killer, I think they could have gotten away with not explaining why William Afton did what he did if he wasn't Garrett's killer as well. if Garrett's murder went unsolved in the film, because there's a big theme in this movie about letting go of the past, letting it be the past, and accepting the present and looking into that and making that more important. Like, that's obviously, I think, supposed to be the theme of the movie, is letting go of the past, and that's what Mike has to learn with stop thinking about something that he couldn't control years ago and focus on what he can control, and that is ensuring Abby has a good life. Like, that's very clearly the point the movie's trying to make. And I feel like it would have been a lot stronger if Garrett's murder went unsolved. If it was just a random act of violence that couldn't be explained, that to me would have made that story arc a lot stronger. Is if Mike just has to accept he's not going to find out what happened.
That's what I thought the movie was going for when the first dream sequence came on, believe it or not. Because the guy's completely hooded, there's no way for it to know it. Then Mike starts talking about dream theory and stuff like that to Vanessa, and I'm just like, well, it's going to be William Afton then, obviously.
Yeah.
But why?
That's what I mean.
Why?
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, with the 5 missing kids, okay, I would like to know why he did it in the film universe, but you could kind of get away with it if he also didn't kill Garrett, because it's like, why did he just kill this random kid? For what reason would he do this?
It's not at all consistent with his motive either.
Yeah.
Like, William Afton's entire shtick is that he dresses up in a yellow bunny, takes 5 kids to the back room and murders them in pairs of 5. There's no reason for him to go out to the middle of a fucking like wood camp and just murder some random child.
Yeah, I don't
understand. If I don't even murder, just kidnap him and then murder him. It's really weird.
I don't get it. I honestly have no clue why they did that, and that to me is my biggest problem with this movie, is it just isn't satisfying to me. And I think if it never got answered and that was the point, and it's supposed to be Mike Let's Go with the past, that would have been 10 times more satisfying from a storytelling perspective. But I think maybe the idea is that if you have Mike's brother's killer confront him in the end, it gives him a bit more emotional stakes in the finale. But then it's like, his fucking sister has been kidnapped by this guy and is going to almost be killed by this guy. That's more than enough emotional stakes for me here. Like, you don't need to add the extra layer of, I killed your brother and I'm going to kill you. It didn't work. I really think it didn't work at all.
That, plus, again, for the lack of screen time, even if he was just like, I don't know how you would even do it. Like, if he was like roaming about the pizzeria, or like keeping tabs on Mike, and you just saw like glimpses of him throughout the movie.
See,
like how
you should have a flashback in the dream sequence. Let us actually see what happened.
You know how I'm assuming you've never played The Witcher 3.
I played a little bit of it. I'm like 2 hours in.
Okay. Is it okay if I spoil one of the DLC characters a little
bit? Yeah, that's fine. On you go.
Because it's the best way for me to like give an example of this. In the Heart of Stone DLC, spoilers for the people listening at home as well, there's a character called Gaunter O'Dim, who is a huge main character. He's essentially a god, hence his name, Gaunter O'Dim, G-O-D. I'm not going to go into the details of what he does, but it's a thing in the game where essentially during the main game, before you go to the DLC, you see him like in the background, dressed up as different characters doing different things. Like, you'll see him at one point, you might notice him like farming some land, and then you'll notice him in an entirely different costume in an entirely different part of the map, and like a different entire like zone, doing something else, like putting up signposts or something. Like, he's keeping tabs on you, he's following you about. Even if William Afton did something like that would be fine enough for me, because it shows that he's keeping an eye on Mike and like he's got a plan for Mike.
Where it's like,
and
you just
if the audience noticed it. Yeah, and if the audience noticed that, they would be like, "Ooh, right, so he's following us."
That also would have been fucking creepy as well. That would have added to the horror.
Exactly.
If it's like, there's an actual human threat in here with us as well. And if it's like, it's not something you don't notice until a rewatch, it's like, fuck, that's actually creepy. He was there the whole time.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why Gaunter O'Dim is one of my favorite DLC characters. He's not the favorite, but he's definitely up there.
Kind of reminds me of a character called Deacon from Fallout 4, who's part of this thing called the Railroad. And he's like a spy, and throughout the game, before you meet the Railroad in the main story, in certain plot points, you actually can see him in the background. He's in disguise.
Just the exact same thing. Yeah.
That would have been cool, I think. That would have been, honestly, pretty cool. Even if it's just like there's just a silhouette in the background of a couple scenes. That, I think, if someone noticed that, you'd be like, what the fuck?
if you saw like a human walking like as like shadow cast
Mhm.
against the wall of the security office, that would be really cool.
But no, honestly, I think we've honestly kind of talked about most of our major problems with the script. Um,
I've got one more bone to pick,
one
if
more,
that's
one more.
okay.
Yeah, it's fine on
I
you
know we're
go.
like getting on time, but yeah. Um, and it's about Abby and specifically why she's so important to the animatronics. For the sake of, I think it's implied. I don't think it's necessarily explained, but it is implied her imaginary friends are probably the five missing kids.
I think they are.
Before
Yeah.
she ever goes, yeah, before she ever goes to the pizzeria, she has those five missing kids, and then she's also able to draw a perfect like replica of Garrett getting taken.
Hmm.
Why is she so important? She's never interacted with the pizzeria. She's never, but for some reason, the kids still know who she is and are able to communicate with her. And B, why would Mike not like? You see at the start of the film, Mike very clearly keeps tabs on her drawings and like looks at them and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Why would he not have noticed that one? Like, I don't get how he could have missed that one, especially since it's such a standout one, and it's only later on in the plot where he notices it. I know that could be explained as like, oh, it's for the storytelling,
Hmm.
but
I actually do
that's just not
think there,
satisfying to me.
there is a reason with that one. It's because the missing kids offer to help him uncover what happened to his brother. Like they pretend they know what happened, so he only brings it up to her because remember he does say he's like, "Can you ask them what they know?" It could be that. Is he didn't
Well,
want to
you
talk about
say
it with her because he does make it clear he doesn't like talking about it with Abby, which is what I'm
Hmm,
assuming it's supposed to be. It might not be, but that's like the only explanation I could think of.
yeah. Okay, so then why is she so special?
See,
Because I don't
no,
think that's ever
this
explained
is the
either.
weird part, though. I mean, I think it would be completely fine if they said that her imaginary, and this actually might be it. And we might have missed this. It might be at the start that her imaginary friends aren't the missing kids, but I'm pretty sure when she introduces Mike to them, like the animatronics, she says, "These are my friends," as in like, these aren't my new friends. These are my friends I've had for a while. Yeah, which is the
Yeah,
weird part. Is how do they have a connection to her? Like even before Mike works at the pizzeria, how do they have that connection? That's kind of weird.
exactly. I need to find a way to stream the movie in the UK because I need to look at that first scene again where Mike's examining her drawings. I need to
Hmm.
check if the kids are the same.
I
That's
think
a
they are.
sentence that is definitely going to get taken out of context.
No,
But
no, that's fine. That's fine. I think that's actually fine without context. It's not like you're like, I'm not even going to say that because that'll be taken out of context. Never mind.
I need to compare these kids.
No, that's not really a weird thing to say. Compare the kids, like,
You have to get the tape measure out.
fucking hell. What are we going on about?
I don't know.
But yeah, no, that's kind of weird. I feel like it was just they needed to have Abby have some kind of plot significance other than just she's Mike's sister, which I don't think they
I
even
hate
did
that
well.
explanation though.
I don't know.
I
Like,
really hate that explanation because again, I think Blumhouse forgot this is FNAF we're talking about. Nothing happens in this franchise without a reason.
yeah,
That is literally the main reason why I'm such in love with the game.
Which-
Is
which-
because you can explain everything.
yeah, and to be honest, it would be understandable if it wasn't like it'd be understandable if it was people who didn't work on the games that were writing the movie, but it's the fact that Scott Cawthon himself helped to write the movie and he's a producer on this. That is a bit
Exactly.
like, did you not think about this, Scott? Or is there an answer there somewhere that we just don't know?
I
Anyway,
don't know.
like I said, I think now we've touched on all the major issues with the movie. I think it'd be
Yeah.
a good idea. I think there's something that we've not talked about yet. The animatronics themselves. I just realized we haven't talked about them at all in terms of like the actual design of them. We haven't spoken.
I think
about
they
that.
looked. Yeah, I think they looked off in a little play. Like for instance, during some of the like shots from like behind of them, like one of the things I noticed was that Freddy's hips were fucking huge. Like it would be a massive hip thing, and then like his stomach like section, I think is what I don't know, like the like
Yeah, I know what
fabric,
you're
like different bits. His stomach would be really thin compared to his hips, but then in other shots it would be perfectly fine. So they were a little off
I-
at times, but I think that's just a difference between stunts,
the
animatronic like
suits.
faceless ones, and the actual suits. Yeah,
the actor suits. To be honest, though, I think those like little minor things aside, I think they look fantastic. I think
Yeah.
without a shadow of doubt in my mind, that was the best part of the movie was seeing
yeah,
those animatronics really come to life. Holy, like they look like pretty much exactly from the first game out of like the game onto the big screen. It looked incredible. I
know.
I think we like it's weird we've gone this long without talking about them, because I think without a doubt that's the best part of the movie to me, is those animatronics.
I think that's most people's opinion anyway. I think even if we didn't touch on it at all, that would be pretty much said and done. Like, the animatronics just look good.
It goes without being said that the animatronics are incredible. Although the only issue I have with them is it's very obvious when, I think like kind of what you mentioned with the Freddy thing. It's very obvious when it's not the animatronics, it's the people in suits.
Yeah,
that's very obvious. There's one moment where it's when the invaders come into the pizzeria and Chica puts a cupcake in the vent. That was so obviously people in suits. Like, they just...
Yeah.
But I think that the people in suits, their movements were great. Obviously, they're not animatronics, you can tell, but they still look robotic and kind of weird. And I think like those performers did really well. But God, I can't believe we've gone this long without talking about them.
Yeah, what I would say is, and this is probably going to be a hell of a lot harder than I'm probably going to make it out to be. Next, for a sequel, I would say they should do the entire thing with like actual robotic animatronics. It would, because they have them anyway for some scenes. I don't see why you need two of them when you can have the animatronics and then just have like pre-programmed routines that they run for the scenes. I know that's, again, probably infinitely harder than I'm making it out to be. I am somewhat familiar with robotics, but I've never actually tried it. I just know it theoretically, like motors and stuff like that. That did not make me sound like I knew what I was talking. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I own a Raspberry Pi. I'm qualified. But yeah, like I feel like that's how they should have done it, because that way it is guaranteed to be the same costume, the same movements, the same everything, every single shot.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel like they should have done it.
Or even for some shots where the animatronics are walking, you could just, and I don't know how the hell they would do this, considering like they must be fucking massive and they must weigh a lot. Film them from
the walking waist, probably wouldn't be possible.
Film them from the waist up and put them on some kind of thing where you can just move them along. Like put them on like I'm forgetting the word for it, but it's like a thing with like
a dolly.
A dolly, yeah.
Or a trolley, I think it is.
Trolley, dolly, whatever. Just put them on that, film them from the waist up and have them walking. I don't know if that's
that's
possible.
Exactly what they did for Foxy.
Yeah, that's the thing. I actually want to say that. Foxy is clearly the only one of the animatronics that didn't have it be replaced with a guy in a suit. Obviously, because they couldn't do that.
Yeah, no, that's that's confirmed already.
But I think Foxy looked the best of all the animatronics. But it also makes sense because he was the hardest to actually operate. He had, at full function, he had to have 6 people operating him.
Yeah.
But I think
that's what I'm saying.
With him because he looked incredible.
Instead of 6 people with remotes, just have like pre-programmed routine, like make some sort of like custom keyframing software to do it. I don't see why you couldn't do that. Yeah, especially with a budget of 20 million.
I don't know how exactly it works, but it's kind of how like animatronics or like Disney World work. It's all pre-programmed. Yeah, but
exactly.
It could be. It's better to not have it be pre-programmed, purely because then the animatronics can react if the actors like make a decision during like a take of a scene, because then it can feel more organic. You know, it could be that. I don't know. But let's be honest. We didn't make the film. We probably don't know what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is just our completely unprofessional opinion on it. But I think even the minor problems aside, I thought the animatronics were great, and the pizzeria itself, fantastic. Like genuinely.
Oh yeah.
I have no problems with that set. It looked incredible. Was totally believable the whole film that was a real restaurant. Just learned today from Matt Pat's video. I think that used to be like an abandoned Home Depot. It's like a
I saw. It's they built the set inside of a home. Like they built a building inside another building, essentially.
Yeah, that was I think
so
the best
that was protected from weather and stuff.
Because it looked fucking fantastic.
It really did.
I think the
no
CGI.
Design,
the production design of this movie was hands down the best part.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no faults there.
I've just thought of another fault that we didn't talk about.
Oh god. Let's get ready to wrap this up. But go on. Give us one last one.
Right. Why is Ella the spring lock suit that they chose for Abby?
I don't know.
When she has no connection.
I have no logical explanation for that. I think
Yeah.
it's like their idea was it's a fun little thing we'll throw in from the books, but they should have thought fans are going to analyze the fuck out of this.
Yeah, no,
Fans
I don't
analyze
get that.
everything.
For those who don't know what we're talking about and are like me that haven't read the books, I only found this out because again, the guy that we tried to get into the podcast but didn't. Fuck you, by the way, for not joining us. If you are listening to this, you know who you are.
Thanks for listening for so long, by the way, as well. Really appreciate
Thanks for listening
it.
for so long, but fuck you, you should have been in here. Either way, he brought out to me that it was Ella, and I was like, well, I don't think it is. I feel like I would have noticed the big giant blue, but sure enough, it is. Anyway, Ella is a character from the books.
I brought it up when we left the cinema. I was like, she looked like the girl from the 1:35 a.m. cover. I think it was one of the other people with us went, no, I think that's supposed to be Baby. It's like, is it fuck?
I don't know. Again, the only reason I disregarded that was because I thought it was like black and white. Because again, our projection was our shit.
Yeah.
So I assumed it was the marionette or something. I didn't think about a doll.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Ella's a character from the books who, what is her backstory? It's like she was built for Charlie. It was like a child's doll for Charlie, or like a child-sized doll for Charlie.
No, I don't think that's Ella.
Fuck it, I'm pulling up the wiki page.
No, I think, alright, the story for Ella is, it's 1:35 a.m. It's about this woman, I don't remember her name. She really wants to have a kid, but her fiance breaks up with her. She's at a garage sale one day and she finds the Ella doll, and it's close to what she wanted to call her kid, Emma, and it looks exactly how she always envisioned her kid looking like. So she buys it, brings it home, has a built-in alarm feature. So she sets the alarm for 1:35 p.m. so she can get up for her shift at work. It doesn't go off, and so naturally she just bins it. It's like, oh, whatever, it's fucking useless. And then 1:35 a.m. for like the next few nights, she keeps waking up at that exact time. And it ends, the story quite darkly ends with her crawling into like an abandoned building under construction or under demolition, and she like dies in the air vents, being haunted by this doll. Yeah.
Wiki page backs up my theory. Quote, Ella is an animatronic doll and was one of the 3 toys that was built by Henry for his daughter Charlotte Emily.
What the fuck?
Description: Ella was built to match Charlie's size as a small child. When the wheel at the foot of Charlie's bed is turned, Ella exits her mini closet holding up a cup for a tea party. Since Ella spent her years of neglect inside their closet, she is the most intact of the animatronics, wear a fancy dress almost as crisp as the day Charlotte left Hurricane.
What
or
the
Charlie
fuck?
left Hurricane, fuck.
I thought it was a doll from 1:35. That's also, I'm pretty sure that's also called Ella. Are they the same?
I have no idea.
FNAF. Apologies everyone.
Either way, yeah, and it's the same animatronic, which raises 2 questions. Number 1, what connection does she have to the movie? And number 2, as far as I'm aware, Ella isn't meant to be a Springlock suit. Like, she's just meant to be a generic doll. I don't see why she has to have Springlocks.
Right, they're both called the same thing and look the same, but they're 2 different characters. That's what it is.
Oh, I love this franchise.
To be fair, I mean, with Fazbear Frights, I'm more okay with that kind of stuff because they're not canon stories, are they? Well, I don't think they're supposed to be.
They're in a separate canon.
Yeah.
They are in a canon, but they're in their own separate canon, and the way they're meant to be interpreted is, again, they're meant to help solve the games.
Yeah, I always just saw them as like taking some like concepts and ideas from FNAF and just making like fun one-off shoot like stories with them.
Yeah.
I never like saw them as anything like to be taken that seriously.
Either way, it could be either one. But yeah, essentially, wait, hold on.
Okay.
I'm searching something.
This is supposed to be one last small thing, and now it's devolved into a whole like, wait, who is this person?
I'm like scrolling through the wiki page trying to find something.
Fuck, we really should have got someone in here who like knew the books like the back of their hand.
I think the guy I was trying to get into does.
Oh fuck.
So I don't know.
You know what? He's an arsehole for not joining us. He's left us.
Exactly.
Yeah. Boo. Not gonna say his name, but boo. You know who you are.
Oh, come on. At the top of the wiki page for Ella, it says, there's a quote from Henry talking to Jen, and it says, quote, she is in this doll. So that makes me think it is a Springlock suit, but I cannot find a single fucking thing later on in the wiki page. Maybe I'm just
I think it was just supposed to be a fun thing put in. It's like, oh, it's from the book, but then it's like, you know, FNAF fans.
That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make sense.
I don't see how Scott could have greenlit that, because he knows for a fine fact how we are.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna look at that doll and I'm gonna think to myself, right, who the fuck is that? I kid you not, I searched for like 4 days straight trying to find a picture of the doll after we saw the movie, because we got it early in the UK. We got it on the 25th, and of course nobody was streaming it or anything. There were zero pictures of it online, and I was getting legitimately angry because I wanted to figure out what the hell this thing was.
I found it randomly on TikTok and just sent it to you. I'm like, there you go. You're welcome.
Yeah, I was so happy.
Oh heavens, sorry.
I can't find a single thing about it.
But no,
What thing?
to me, that doesn't annoy me too much because I'm taking it as it was supposed to just be like a fun little thing thrown in there from the books. But like, I can totally see why it's going to annoy the hell out of people. It's like, why out of all things from the books is that there in this like exact moment?
Yeah, like if it was a side thing, fine. I don't see why they had to make it a full
it's a bit
like
too plot
main thing
significant.
though.
Yeah. It's not like the Sparky the dog thing where it's just kind of thrown in the background. It's like very heavily focused on, and it's kind of a bit pivotal to the plot. I mean, really, it could have been anything, that Springbok suit. It didn't have to be that specific design. So why choose that?
Yeah, like if it was a puppet or something, that would have made sense. Or like again, I think the person that we were speaking about earlier that was like spoke to us outside suggested it was Baby. That would have made sense because I know some people are theorizing that Abby's meant to be a parallel of Baby, but at the same time, it's like any of those would have made sense. Why specifically Ella? I do not get that design choice.
I don't completely understand it, but I'm just going to assume that was a mistake on their part, and they just assumed no one was going to look into it, and then they've probably realized now, like, oh god, what have we done?
Yeah, Blumhouse needs to learn how we are.
I think that we should. I think we've pretty much said everything we want to say, right? We should try and end this on a positive note. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think this was worth the 8 years wait?
I would say kind of. I'm very 50-50 on the movie still.
To be honest, and this is going to sound like such a backhanded compliment, but I do mean this in the nicest way. This is exactly what I expected a Five Nights at Freddy's movie to be. It met all my expectations, but it's probably because I went in with like this film's going to be okay. I didn't go in expecting this to be like the greatest piece of cinema ever. Like I was going into this being like, I will have fun with this. It's a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I'm not expecting like the most profound piece of cinema ever created, and I'm not expecting it to be like everything I want it to be. It's its own thing, and I kind of sort of treated it like that. It was like, it's still Five Nights at Freddy's, but it's also trying to be its own thing. So I got to treat it like that. And so personally, I think it was all right. I quite enjoyed it. I wouldn't say I was disappointed in the movie.
Again, I didn't mind it from a movie like film. How would you pronounce filmography? However you pronounce that word. I didn't mind it from that standpoint. Again, I went into it with sort of like I went into it thinking that the story was going to be amazing, but the actual movie part of it was going to be kind of meh. Like, it wasn't going to be well filmed. The acting was a bit meh. It ended up being the opposite, as it turns out. Great filming, great directing, everything like that. Just the lore did not hold up to my expectations, and that's why I'm so disappointed in it. Because again, I play FNAF not for the horror or anything, purely just for the lore. And they completely bombed that part of the movie.
Don't get me wrong, I love the lore. I mean, I don't keep up with it too much now because I don't like the direction it's gone. But I went into this movie being like, this is going to be its own thing. I'm not expecting this to be a one-to-one adaptation of like the game's lore, because at that point I would just watch game theory. I wouldn't like go out to the cinema. I was going into this wanting a new FNAF experience, and I got that. I just feel like the script could have been better. That's like, to me, that's the big issue with this movie, is the script. And this is going to sound funny saying this. It feels like a first draft. This feels like a first draft of a script. And what I think happened was... Even though
Scott took...
Yeah, it was like draft like 250. But what I think happened here was after they got so close to filming last... I mean, that's the thing. The last script that Scott... Like, if we go back to the Reddit post, that... So essentially all the scripts I talked about earlier, the cancelled ones, it was in a... Like, that was told about in a Reddit post through Scott. And he ended it with the Mike, like, screenplay. And I'm assuming that this was the same thing. Like, this could be that Mike script that he talked about was like, all right, yeah, we're going with this one. we're going to start filming in spring, which obviously didn't happen. They didn't start filming for 2 years. I'm assuming this is the same script, right? It doesn't feel that way. Like, it feels like a first draft. And if a lot of the problems with the script, I feel like would be something someone would notice in our first draft and go, we should probably change that. So here's what I think happened. I think that they found a script that Scott liked after they got so close to filming the last time that they moved on it quickly before he could change his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were scared Scott was going to change his mind again. The film would never get made. So like, fuck it, get it out, get this film out already, get it done. We want the money. Like, this is going to get too expensive if we keep bringing people in to write scripts and then we don't make them.
Yeah,
that's personally what I think happened with this movie. Is they found the script that Scott liked and they ran with it before he could change his mind again.
Which, to be fair, would check out. Just again, I wish Scott would, at the same time, know when to stop with a script. Like, it could have been that his previous 1,000 drafts were perfect, but he didn't like them. When in actuality, I know some of the examples you brought up are really shit earlier, but there was probably a good handful that were actually really good and that he just didn't like. I think it's the exact same problem that early games suffered from. He kept changing his mind.
Yeah.
So I really hope that Scott, after this movie and after hearing all of the crappy plot that it has and the complaints, realizes, okay, maybe I should learn to stop at some point and just say, yeah, no, it checks all the boxes. I feel like this could be changed, but if I change it, it's gonna undo a ton of progress. So you might as well just run with it. I get that's gonna go against I feel like Scott's probably a perfectionist if he's changing his mind so much.
That's probably the reason why this took so long. Is because
yes,
and I completely understand that because at the end of the day, Finance of Freddy's is his it's his kid, pretty much. I mean, I know he has 6 kids, but kind of this is the 7th one. This is his thing, and after years of failure, he finally had something that people liked, and with entrusting someone else with that, I think he got very protective and was like, no, I need to be in charge of this. I need to do this. And let's be honest, Scott's not a screenwriter. He's a game developer at the end of the day. And he's a great ideas man, but for the love of God, please just Scott, for the next one, please let someone else write it. He's like George Lucas in a way. He's a great ideas man, and he's great at coming up with stuff, but in execution, this is only with screenplays, by the way, because obviously he's great at coming up with games and executing them. Let someone else write it.
I don't think someone else should write it, because I feel like that's going to lead to the exact same problem that we've got now, the opposite problem we've got now, where the critics love it. It's going to be made as a movie. The critics love it, but the fan base is like, what the fuck is this? What it should be is someone just supervising him and just saying, okay, these are the boxes you want to check. These are the plot points you want to cover.
Yeah, that's kind of.
And then he writes up a draft, and then get someone to peer review it, just being that's fine. But why is this not explained?
Yeah.
And just do not give him the option to restart. Zero option to restart. Just improvements on the current script he's got.
That's what I meant. That's kind of more what I meant. Is have him still be involved. Keep him on as a producer, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, this is his property and probably some of his money going into this. He should have say in that kind of stuff. Have him be in the writer's room, but don't put him in charge. Let someone else write who's actually a screenwriter and is actually a professional in this area. And that's what I think they did with the books, is it was Scott working with someone else who was an actual writer, and they worked together and they wrote a story that he could approve of and be proud of. And that's what I mean is, and let me say this, I actually don't know how much involvement Scott had in the script. I'm assuming it was a good bit, considering he's credited as a screenwriter on this film. But
it must be if it took 8 years.
Maybe for the next movie, get people in who know how to write better scripts. That's my only big feedback is just improve the script. If the script in this film was, and to be honest, I don't think you need to change the plot of the movie too much. There's one plot point I would change, and it's William Afton being Garrett's killer. That's the only thing I would change in the general plot. A lot of it is more just explaining character motivations and dialogue. That's my issue. If you change that stuff, I think this goes from a film that FNAF fans can enjoy but critics aren't going to like, to a film everyone can enjoy, whether you're a FNAF fan or not. FNAF fans can still go into it and enjoy it because it's a FNAF movie, but newcomers can still watch it and go, that was actually quite good. I want to get more into this. And ideally, that's what this type of film should be. But this all aside, despite my problems with the script, I think this was worth the 8-year wait. But that's mostly because I went into it with tempered expectations.
Yeah.
I think that generally, like I said, if you're a FNAF fan, go and watch this. And chances are you probably already have.
Yeah, no. If you're a FNAF fan, watch it. Obviously,
you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
If you're not into FNAF, I don't think this is gonna turn you into a fan. I don't think this is gonna convince anyone to get into Five Nights at Freddy's. But generally, as a FNAF fan, though, I enjoyed it, and I mentioned earlier that if I wasn't a FNAF fan, I'd maybe give it a 5 out of 10. We're gonna follow up on that. You know, we're not doing a FNAF movie thing where we set up points and they never explain them. I'm actually gonna give it a rating of 7 out of 10 as a FNAF fan, which might seem bad to some people, but to me, a 7 is like, this is actually really good. It held my attention from beginning to end. I enjoyed it, and I can recommend it to people with similar taste to me. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, which is, like I said, a good
That's
rating
fair.
for me. And I'm actually not a big fan of giving number ratings in general, because I feel like people just focus on the number and don't focus on what we've talked about. But if you've listened this far, then I think you have a good idea of what my problems are with the movie, or what both our problems are with the movie. But
And
like
if
I
you
said,
skip to the end, fucking get your
Yeah.
arse back to the start.
go watch. Forget the number. I'm giving it a 0 now. You have to go watch the rest to understand what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
But no, genuinely, I would watch a sequel. I would absolutely be down for a sequel if it addresses the
Obviously-
issues of this
Yeah.
film.
Obviously, I would watch a sequel. Obviously,
Mhm.
my rating of it though is going to be a 6 out of 10. Just because, again, I play FNAF not for the atmosphere, not for the horror thing, but primarily for the lore. I just don't find it scary otherwise, and the movie disappointed in that regard. But again, as a FNAF movie that's just trying to pay some homage to the series, I say it does a fantastic job. That's why it's not a 0 out of 10. I don't think it's a bad movie, just a bit misguided in terms of the writing. That's it. And I feel like, again, with the amount of people that have been complaining about it, at least from what I can tell, in my little corner of the internet, the amount of people that have been complaining about it, I would say it's going to get addressed in a sequel.
Yeah.
So
hopefully.
I would still say go watch it, just have tempered expectations for the lore.
Yeah. But no, overall, I enjoyed it. Here's another question, though. Final question we'll end on. Would you rewatch this movie?
Yes, for the sake of analyzing the shit out of it, like going full nerd mode and just try to figure out everything I can from the plot points that are properly ended. Yes, I would absolutely.
Okay, but that just is okay, let's put this aside then. If you're not analysing the movie, you're just sitting and watching it and enjoying it, would you rewatch it? Because personally, I don't see myself rewatching this in the near future. I think it would have to be a good couple of years later before I would rewatch this.
I would still rewatch it. I wouldn't rewatch it like monthly or anything, but I would pull it up if it went onto streaming services in the UK, and then every 5 or 6 months maybe, sure, because I feel like it has good entertainment value as a whole. Again, it does a good job of keeping you somewhat entertained if it is a little bit weird at it.
See, I would maybe rewatch it just so I can have the experience of a clear picture and not 3 cunts sat next to me speaking the entire time. I'd maybe rewatch
With
it because of
a
that.
screen with a shit contrast.
Yeah, maybe I would rewatch it then in the near future. But no, to me, it was a good movie. And there are a lot of movies I watch, I go, I really like that, but I wouldn't watch that again. But with this, I could see myself realistically rewatching it, but it wouldn't be for another couple of years, close to when the next one would be coming out. I would probably give this a rewatch. But
That's
no,
fair.
honestly, I think final thoughts. It was good. I wasn't disappointed. Like I said, because I went in with tempered expectations, and I would recommend it to other people if they liked Five Nights at Freddy's. If not, stay away. And that is my final word on it.
I would
Any-
say still
any
give it a
last
watch
words?
if you're not into FNAF. Just don't expect to be hooked.
Fair. I don't think it's definitely not gonna convince anyone else to give the series a watch. But
Yeah.
with that being said, I think we have covered almost everything we needed to talk about.
Yeah.
If you still don't know what we think of the movie, were you paying attention? We covered, I think, everything that we wanted to talk about here. But with that being said, any last words to the viewer, Sam, before we wrap this up?
Do drugs, don't go to school.
Pretty good message. Anyway, if you've listened to the end of this, I've just checked the recording now. We are 2 hours and 11 minutes into this. We ended up going over the 2 hour mark.
Woo!
We did it.
Let's go!
This review is longer than the actual movie itself.
Let's go!
This
Listen to this as you're watching the FNAF movie. That's how to do it.
Honestly, this is, I think, common for a lot of podcast reviews. They tend to go over the film's runtime depending on the movie. But with that being said, thank you if you listened this far. I don't know how much of this was actually like coherent or if you were able to follow it. If not, leave feedback. Like I said, I might do another one of these. I quite enjoyed doing this. I thought it was quite fun. I might do another one. If no one watches it, oh well, I can do this for myself. Just like scream into the void pretty much. But no,
literal talking to a brick wall.
Pretty much. But genuinely though, if you listened this far, thank you very much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic night and take care.